Sit back and relax as you listen to the Train Kickers podcast. I'm Dave, and along with my co-hosts Dan and Steve, we're going to take you all around the world of miniature wargaming. On tonight's episode, we're going to continue our discussion we were having in terms of Warhammer 30k or Horus Heresy, whatever you may want to call it. And now, on to the show. All right, gentlemen, how are you on this now second recording in the week, at least for some of us?
I'm doing fine. I mean, recently was the LVO. I know we released a podcast on that, so that was really
came out
exciting.
today.
Oh, it came out today. Perfect.
Yep.
I gotta get these. I think I shut off the notifications on my phone for Podbean. I gotta figure out. Man, I don't even.
Shuts off the notifications for the podcast he is on. I bet he isn't even subscribed to the YouTube channel. Plug.
Dude,
Train Kickers podcast.
That one, funny enough, that one gives me notifications.
Okay, good.
Did you ring the bell?
Yeah, every time I download an app, I like, you know how it automatically says, "Do you want to send notifications?" I just auto select no every single time, and then I have to go back and figure out how to put it back on.
Yeah, fix that.
Because God knows that sometimes apps just give you 16 million notifications during the day.
No,
and we just released the LVO podcast, so it's really good because it just had a new model release for 30k, the Kabanda model. So yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm real great. I'm thinking about demons I want to play. How about you, Steve? How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Working on some salamanders and taking it easy.
Oh, what salamanders you working on?
30k ones, obviously.
Cool.
So I like to have small demo armies available for 30k, right? And small armies, usually Zomortalis. I like to do like themed pairings, right? So the first demo armies I made to go with Book 9 when that came out. So it was Dark Angels and Night Lords. It was literally like, a squad, 2 squads, and a captain for each side. 500-point armies. And, they're cool. They have neat little tricks that showcase, like, the Legion strength, but they don't have much of the basic stuff, right? Like veteran squads and all that. So for the next set I'm doing, I'm like, let me do, the Drop Site Massacre, because that's a big one. And I could kind of jump around and hit a bunch of Legions bit by bit as I go. So because my main army is Iron Warriors, I'm doing Salamanders to fight them. Because
Cool.
for those who don't remember, the Iron Warriors literally nuked the Salamanders at Isfahan 5.
Yes, they did. Spoilers.
You're about 10 years late to act. Sorry, no, you're more like...
No more.
No.
God, how many? 30 years late? Like 30 years late for
I was
that.
talking about like the actual book, the
For the
Isfahan 5 book released.
For the book?
5 or 6 years ago?
If you go back to the actual Horus Heresy
novel.
For the novels, no, you're like probably closer to 15 years, I would bet.
Ooh.
That book is not 15 years old. Stop that. I'm not that old.
No, you are that old, but maybe the book is not quite that old, but I'm pretty sure I think it's older than you think it is.
You ever feel a cold sweat fall down you?
Constantly.
Jesus Christ. I had a kid tell me this week that I lived during the late 1900s and I damn near flipped a goddamn table.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So you lived during the late 1900s.
Oh, that's so rude.
But he's not wrong is the problem.
Yeah.
But it's also like you gotta squint your eyes.
It's the sort of statement when you hear it, you're like, no, that's a lie. And then the realization comes in and you hate yourself for it. That's what that is.
Oh, yeah. That's real cool. I like salamanders. Salamanders are a really cool army. I was always bouncing between White Scars and Salamanders, and Imperial Fists to start. And then I just said, fuck it. I just want to do demons. Fuck it.
Have you actually started anything on the demons, or are they just more of a pipe dream at this time?
I'm just right now. I'm on the eBay search for cheap bloodletters because I finally figured out that it is going to be Khorne. I was it was between Nurgle, or they're not called Nurgle and Khorne. They're called like the Army of Blood and the Army of I don't even know, but basically Nurgle and Khorne. So I'm like the hunt for cheap bloodletters.
Are they?
Which, funny enough, are not really easy to be found. I'm surprised because they're not really meta. So you'd think people would offload them, but like, I guess people are hoarding them for the next Chaos book. Weird.
Is there a reason they're not called Nurgle and Khorne? Is it because like historically they weren't given a name at that time? They were just
it's exactly
ruinous powers.
The too
It
long.
literally wasn't even that.
Yeah.
So, at the time of the heresy, the understanding of demons was it's just, like animals that existed in warp space, because the warp is parallel to our reality, and there's no real sentience in the warp. There's no intelligence in the warp, but there's creatures out there, and yeah, they're kind of hungry. They kind of eat souls. It happens. It's a danger that psychers face. It's why we have Geller fields. But if you read the first 2 or 3 novels of the Horus Heresy series, and you get a really good grasp of how it was
I
all
mean,
thought about
we
at the
could
time.
kind of spoil it. Essentially, the Emperor did not want to give names to the demons of the warp because that gave them power. The problem is, ignoring something doesn't make something go away.
Hey, it's worked up to this point in my life, so Emperor messed up.
So, the demon of they figured out that there were like kind of 4 denominations. There were really bloodthirsty demons that were usually colored red. There were demons that really were hard to kill. Those are your Nurgle demons. There were demons that were really fast and quick on the battlefield. Those are your Slanesh. And then there were demons that hurled magic, which was your Zinch. But they didn't have names yet, so they were called by basically their classifications.
Okay.
I should even point out, they weren't even called bloodletters or nurglings. They were called swarms or lesser demons or greater demons. Little side note, GW does an excellent job, and we'll talk about this later when we talk about like armies. GW does an excellent job of like allowing you to do whatever the fuck you want in 30k for demons. They literally just say, here's
Awesome.
the base size. Enjoy.
Have fun.
Yeah, lesser demons are on 32 millimeters. You get a table of powers you can buy for them. Fucking enjoy. Like, it's really cool what they do for 30k demons.
Okay. All right. Well, since Dan and I were able to talk about our hobby not but 2 days ago, and maybe you did a bunch of I ain't done shit since then. I've contemplated, do I like Necrons more, or do I want big Tyranids? But then that might be too much in terms of like I don't want to get something that's just gonna go stomping on everyone. But they seem fun. I don't want to paint like 100 little tiny gaunts. So, but other than that, I haven't done
That's
anything.
the great thing about Tyranids is we'll never stop anyone. Not since the abuses of 2nd and 3rd edition. They're convinced we have to be punished. Still,
Oh no,
we're still paying our penance for 2nd and 3rd edition abuses.
Not true when it comes to Crushers.
Crusher Stampedes.
Yeah,
but that's not real.
But that's
Tyranids.
what I like.
That's
I like
not
the idea of
real
those big
Tyranids.
boys. Well, yeah, but I don't want to run a bunch of those tiny things. I like the fact I could just run big, crazy shit. But
it's definitely a fun army. I've thought about a few lists for that, but I haven't touched 40k in maybe 3 months. So I have to like warm up myself before I'm ready to dive in with the list theory and planning anything out.
But you might have actually done some hobbies since people had heard from you a week or so ago. So have you actually done anything?
Yeah, like I said, I'm starting on these salamanders a little bit. It's a project I started maybe 4 months ago, put down for a little bit. That little bit became a long bit. And now I'm kind of getting back into it, figuring out where I was when I last was working on the army. So it's a super, super small basic army. It's 1 squad of Breacher Marines, which are like riot control Marines, sort of. They got the big boarding shields.
Okay.
A squad of Recon Marines. They get a scout move at the start of the game, so they give you that early upfield position. A support squad, which is like a special weapon unit where everyone has whatever weapon it is. So they've all got flamers because salamanders with flamers is kind of silly. They get bonus strength for them, which is really nice. And a captain or consul, that's the warmonger type, which allows him to deep strike and bring a unit with him into deep strike.
Ooh, okay.
So he could deep strike with a squad of really tanky guys or with a squad of flaming guys, and the other units have basically like recon beacons. They could deep strike to that location safely because for anyone who has not played the older 40k versions, deep strike used to be really dangerous. It would scatter around the table, and there was a very real possibility that you'd scatter into enemy models or off the table itself, in which case you took a Perils of the Warp check and potentially just went poof.
If you go back
get
old
delayed,
enough,
get relocated somewhere else.
Yeah,
It was fun.
it was what was it 1 in 6 or 1 in 3 that you're just?
No, it's 1 in 6. You're gone forever.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
It's one. So that's on a 1. On a 2 on a 2, the opponent places wherever he wants to go. On a 3, you get placed back in reserve.
Yeah.
On a 3, 4, or it's on a 2 or 3, and then a 4, 5, 6, you just place back in reserve.
Okay. It's been a while since I've.
There were only 3 choices. I can't remember what the division was, but it was only 3 choices.
Okay, and it's only 1 in 6 that you're just like, nope, sorry,
yeah,
lose
it
your
was
points.
only 1 in 6. Yeah.
Which is a huge feel bad. I'm glad they changed that.
There are ways to go around that in 30k.
Like I said, lots of units have access to those beacons, which helps.
Yeah, you could like literally deep strike.
Or it could be damn cheap and only go D6 instead of 2D6.
Yeah,
custodians, we know what we're doing. No, they're like banners. There's targeting relays. There's
Drop
even
pods.
like what the hell's that stupid rhino tank with the radar dish?
Now I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah,
I blame you.
It's a headquarters rhino. It's a headquarters rhino that essentially also gives you help.
The Damocles command rhino.
Yep. So there are literal. If you're playing a deep strike army, there are ways to build it.
Okay.
Or you could just be me and throw caution in the wind.
Yeah, but you said you only scatter on a D6, right? As custodes. Is that what you said?
That's still
That's not much. I do
scatter D6, but I still place my dudes like 2 to 3 inches away.
Yeah, all 3 of them.
That's not true. Dan will build a 2,000 point unit of models and deep strike that.
Did you?
Of 6 models.
There's a whole 7 of them.
Okay.
6 plus the commander.
About 2,000. Hold on. It is. Hold on. I gotta do math. The commander's about 330 points. 6 models is around. They're about 100 points pop, so around 600, 700 points. So yeah, you're looking about like 1,100 point unit with the commander.
That's basically 2,000 points.
Oh my god, that's.
I mean, to be fair, they fuck.
They would have to for that price.
Yes, but so far I've never had the misfortune. They've always gone back in reserve. I've never had the misfortune of rolling a 1. I have had the misfortune of having, because they can run after they deep strike. So I've had the misfortune of rolling a 1 on their run, and so they can't space out after they deep strike. So there's like a Medusa in front of them, and I'm just like, welp. Hopefully they can hold their shields up high, because this is gonna fucking hurt. That has happened.
That just sounds an issue of putting them too close. Yeah, if you want to scatter a D6, you could,
yes, but they also have no guns. Okay. These are specifically Heteron Guard, for those who want to know what I'm talking about. They have no model in Forge World, I should point out, so don't even look that one up, Dave. People usually use Custodian Wardens as the model, or they use like Custodian's Guard with Cape. Someone actually used Alaris models as you could kind of convert them from anything. But Heteron Guard sometimes just don't have guns. They literally are just armed with a shield and a very dangerous close combat weapon. Actually, the most dangerous close combat weapon in the game, Paragon Blades, or Solarite Fists. So they and then you can't charge after you deep strike, so you're stuck there for a turn. So it's basically the opponent can either shoot them or shoot the other dangerous parts of your army. It's a good way to what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to call them
effects.
Yeah, I don't want to call them a distraction, because that's kind of disingenuous, but it's essentially a distraction.
All right. Any other hobby news? Before we go on to the little bit of news.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right. That's all. I said we talked about other stuff. All right. So, you had mentioned a few different models. So why don't we start with the news-wise? Why don't we start with the Black Library Celebration models that you mentioned? So I'll pull those up so that way they're visible for anyone who's watching. So just like last time, what we're going to try to do from here on out, as much as we can, is the audio-only recording will be on whatever podcatcher you have, but we're also going to put up video recordings of these on YouTube. Right now, it's just essentially part of my screen showing models, things like that, so people can kind of follow along, and it works well. In the future, when we have some cameras, maybe a little bit better setup, then we might have ourselves streaming there as well. But for right now, I have this yellow boy up. So who is this yellow man?
God. So good.
Fafnir Ron.
Oh God, I love him. Look at that mustache, man. Look at that freaking mustache. Like he knows he's good looking. No, but in all seriousness, he's a gorgeous model. Like just everything about him—the shield, the double axes, the little dagger on the power dagger on the side. Everything about this model just screams, "Come at me!" And I'm all for it. I'm literally all for it. What about you, Steve?
So I really like the armor design going on in this. I love I love the front plates, shapes. I love visually, I love the look. The shield's a little busy for me, and I'm hoping that it might. I mean, I know that's not going to be. I would really like to be able to remove that to build other models out of this model. Not very likely, but it's nice to dream. It's a nice model. It's huge. It's obnoxiously huge. That's a 32 mil base under him, I think, and he completely dwarfs it.
He's beefy. He is supreme beef master.
I think there's a chance you might be able to work on that shield a bit, because I agree. I think the shield's got a little too much going on. I'm not big on the. It kind of looks like there's a face hugger on his helmet that's holding it there.
I agree.
But if you notice the what they have underneath his scabbard and all, I would be surprised. Or is that painted on? I assume that was detail.
You mean the design on the shield?
Yeah, the design on the shield itself.
No, that's painted on. So the Forge World is crazy. That's
okay.
All of that design, I think, is painted. Maybe not the front. I feel like the front is 3D.
I don't know. It's a plastic model. It's probably all physically there.
It might be. If it's physically there, then yes, I feel you could actually do it in pieces, because I don't see the reason why they wouldn't just put the full symbol down and allow this to kind of sit on top. Yeah. So I have a feeling, because when you look at the front, it's obviously, I don't think that's painted on just by the look. But, I mean, if so, impressive on them. But I have a feeling, I think you'll be able to take that stuff off. At least I would hope.
The backpack is like different. Like this is Mark.
Yeah,
1,
I do.
Right?
I like that. I like the variant backpacks. Oh my God, Dan, you have never played Space Marines and Heresy, have you? That is Artificer Mark III armor. So the base armor is Mark III, but it's been built to like a higher standard than other sets of Mark III.
Interesting.
But the basic components to it are there. So it's got the extra armor around the wrists, the like the bracers.
Yeah.
It has that trim along the top of the shoulder pads to deflect shrapnel. And if you look at the legs in the back shot, you can see it's segmented panels with a larger panel that covers the front. Because Mark III is essentially just up armored Mark II armor.
Okay. That backpack is great. I love that. It's just awesome.
I'm loving the variant backpacks.
Yeah.
Because it's a nice little thing. Just add more diversity.
Yeah.
Visually. And I love it when like you get those kinds of variants out there in an army. Because, it's a huge galaxy. And at the time, there was constantly trying out new things in armor design. So you get weird things like that. And I love it.
The next model, though. Yeah. So, okay, listen. Some people like it.
This is what, Blood Angels? Yeah, Blood Angels Crusader.
Yeah, this is Dominion Zephan, I think. Zephon? Dominion Zephan.
I would say Zephon by my pronunciation.
He's Spanish.
Wait, that's two models?
Yeah, Fafnir Ran is the top.
Oh, okay, got it. Understood.
Fafnir Ran is top boy, and Dominion Zephon is I think the bottom. I'll put it out this way. The Blood Angel heraldry, like the design on Blood Angels, and we'll talk Blood Angels when you show Forge World Blood Angels, you'll see. I think they have some of the most beautiful armor, not insignias. The hell is it called? Oh God, gilding? No, that's not the right word.
Gilding isn't a bad way to use.
Gilding.
Yeah. There is something. Oh God, it's gonna come to me later. I know it's gonna drive me insane. But like the way their arm filigree. Thank you, Jesus
Filigree,
Christ.
yeah.
Yeah,
Their armor filigree is beautiful. I think they are. I dare say, someone fight me on this. I dare say that besides Custodes, they have some of the most beautiful Contemptor dreadnoughts and beautiful patterned armor with their filigree. That being
Forget the
said,
Custodes; they are more beautiful.
no, they are like I love the Contemptors on the Crusade. Like the Gladys is the sexiest thing in the goddamn world. It doesn't do shit, but it's amazing. So I like this, like the arm, but this model, I don't know. It just, I don't know. There's something about it doesn't. I don't. Maybe it's the tactical rock. I don't know. I have no idea.
It's the center of mass is in the wrong point. The motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can break it down from a physics perspective.
Okay,
the thing pushing the model forwards right now is either the foot or the jetpack, right? But neither of those is properly in line to give it the motion you see compared to the center of mass.
No, he would fall. He would fall straight down.
Forward. He's gonna rocket to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
like the line of action's all mixed up with the model.
Okay,
that's why.
It makes sense. I could see that because the sword is not swinging in the direction of where he's jumping, which is also not in line with the jump. Okay, that makes sense. I see that. I see that right now.
He does.
Not the model's beautiful.
He doesn't need a tactical rock. I think. But on this, you could easily reposition him. You could change if you changed the angle at which you put that model, which I would be worried about him snapping his robot foot off anyway at that angle. But if you change the angle, you could make it look, I think, much more natural, or you can get a very nice pose out of it. I do like, though, how he only has one limb left. By looking at, because it looks like both his arms, at least his hands, they're both robot.
He got fucked up in the Siege of Terra.
Yeah, he's got one leg.
His story, I'm not gonna get. So I'm not gonna spoil this one because this is more in the newer books.
Okay.
The Siege of Terra books, which are much newer.
Very true.
So for people listening, there's two sets of Horus Heresy books. There's the older books, which lead up to the Siege of Terra, and then there's the Siege of Terra books, which is the coup de grace of the Horus Heresy. So I'm not going to spoil the Siege of Terra because we're only, 6 books in? Right? I want to say we're 6 books in. Saturnine was 4, Mortis was 5, and the next one was 6. Yeah, we're 6 books in. So I'm not going to spoil it because 6 books is not a lot. But he does get fucked up. Like.
So, Dan, I looked it up. The first Horus Heresy book, when you're looking at that, Horus Rising, False Gods, all of those, the sort of the original trilogy was 2006.
Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know that meme where like not Forrest Gump, fucking in Saving Private Ryan at the very end when he starts aging up back to the original main character and he's in front of the cemetery and he ages like Private Ryan ages from 20 to 80. That's how I just felt right now.
Wait, are you talking about the movie Jack?
No.
Where Robin Williams gets super old real fast because he's got progeria?
No. You never watched Saving Private Ryan?
I don't remember that particular scene. No.
It's like at the end when he's staring at
No, I don't remember that scene.
Dead character, and then he just slowly ages over time, and it becomes like you realize, oh my God, that's the main character at the beginning of the movie.
No, I do not remember that part, but it's been a while since I watched Saving Private Ryan. Siege of Terra has 8 books so far.
If Steve knows what I'm talking about, then Steve,
Yeah. Siege of Terra is 8 books. Well, 2 novellas and 6 full books.
Okay.
For Siege
and I
of
think
Terra.
at the maximum, they released this years ago, but they said the Siege of Terra is going to be, Steve, you might know this, 12 books?
I have no idea. I'm not literate.
I don't know.
I can't remember. They did release that information a while back. How many? Because they did have a set number of books. I just don't remember.
According to this, where I'm looking on the 40k lexiconum, they said it's supposed to span 8 main novels and an unknown number of novellas.
Okay, so 8. Oh, so wow, we're really nearing the end. Holy shit!
Yeah,
wow.
According to this. So we'll see.
It's not heresy, but they're doing a hardback illustrated version of Xenos, Eisenhorn Xenos, and that's kind of tempting. That's one of my first books I read for the 40k universe. Anyway, Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
Gotta stay focused.
All right. Well, I think that was all of the news. We're gonna keep the news 30k theme since that's what the episode is. I believe that's all of the news for it. That's what you guys had me pull up.
Yeah.
Okay.
New Big Boy Bloodthirster and 2 new plastic models coming for the Black Library celebration.
Yeah. Now, everyone heard our thoughts on the Bloodthirster model. Do you have anything particular you'd want to say about it, Steve? Because I pulled it up.
I think that it is a very nicely sculpted model, but it's not what I stayed up all night hoping for.
Everyone agrees. Yeah. We all said
the
same thing. We all said
it's a very nice model. The tactical rock's a little it's a little much, especially since the next day they're talking about how, Big Boy McBloodthirster is cross playable to 40k and Sigmar when he gets rules. So hopefully it's a removable tactical rock and you can do things with it besides port over to Space Marines through the warp. I know it's nice, but it's not what all of our prayers were for. I was praying for that plastic Spartan. I'm still praying for a plastic Spartan.
God, we're not going to get a stop it. We're not getting a If we fucking get a, do you understand that I want to start demons? If we get a plastic Spartan, all those dreams get dashed immediately because then I have to start like a Legion army. Oh,
good.
God. Fucking Christ. I can't. Oh my God.
All right. So why don't we pick up?
It's a nice model.
Yeah. No, agreed. It's good, but overall, that whole showcase was disappointing.
Yes.
Not bad, but disappointing.
By the way, to let you know, that was pretty much the general consensus that we came to on the podcast.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So why don't we have you two pick up where it is that we left off, which I believe we left off on the idea of getting into 30k itself.
Yes. So, I mean, last podcast, we talked all about basically the beginnings of 30k, what it's all about, why you should play with 30k, why you shouldn't play 30k. So now you probably said, you know what, this sounds like a game for me. How do I get into it? So, I mean, Steve even attached a picture here. So, yeah, Steve, you could start. Talk to us about the first size, if you will.
Okay, so, in Horus Heresy, there's a few different sizes of games you could play. And all of them scale pretty nicely because they kind of have their own little mini ecosystem of what you could expect. So basically the smallest army size for Horus Heresy is going to be your Zomortalis format. There's also Zomortalis. So it's a great entry level place to start because you could literally pick up a single box of Mark III or Mark IV Space Marines and start playing.
Games Workshop, by the way, they are in plastic.
Yeah, they are plastic. Just pick up a box, build one guy to be your captain, build a 9-man veteran squad. You have an HQ and an elite choice, and that's a legal build for Zomortalis. So if everyone doesn't know, Zomortalis is basically like their close confines environment kind of mini game in a sense. 3D Necromunda tiles that they came out with, 2 years ago now? Those plastic tiles? Those were an updated plastic version of the Zomortalis tiles that Forge World used to put out. And first of all, they're gorgeous, but they're expensive. Fortunately, you don't have to play Zomortalis as that sort of I'm in outer space, boarding the enemy spaceship kind of setup. If you look at the picture that's going to appear somewhere on there it is on the screen, or I don't know how it's going to be set up. You can do Zomortalis tables that are not, spaceships.
Oh, this is from our notes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from the show notes.
Yeah. I do not have that picture.
Steve makes the best tables. Oh, Lord.
Yep. It's true. I mean, I don't know who said that, but, I completely agree with them. I think they have great ideas and should get some massive funding. So for an event that I ran a little over a year ago, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do, some Zomortalis boards. So I went to the hardware store and I got this 1-inch thick, 2 foot by 2 foot square of insulation foam. And I got another thing of insulation foam that's 2 inches thick. And basically I 2 inches thick and 1 inch thick, I think. As it was building terrain for an entire store, so you know, if you want to get 3 sheets of foam, it isn't going as far as it does for a single person's home. But anyway, you know, I built a table basically using the foam, some modeling paste, cork bits, sand, what have you, all kinds of textury bits to build basically an underground cavern system. And basically shifted the focus from an outer space game, you know, boarding a spaceship, to underground in the mines. Which, by the way, is completely valid. Like, it's one of the examples they list in the Zomortalis PDF set, which is free to download on the Warhammer community website if you go to downloads, Horus Heresy, bam. Um, and yeah, it's a great way to start playing 30k. There is a little bit of a balance skew in it. First thing is it limits what size models you can bring. Anything that's on larger than a 60 millimeter circle cannot be taken into Zomortalis. So that's no Leviathan Dreadnoughts. You know, most tanks are getting removed. Um, and it boosts the strength of your flamer weapons and your blast weapons, your template weapons. Basically, all your area of effect weapons get stronger and can re-roll failed wound rolls, which is big.
I do want to
And then
interrupt.
other units have specialist upgrades like built into them. Go for it.
So the one thing I just want to interrupt because I pulled this up, so I want to make sure I'm looking in the right spot. You mentioned how on the GOW side for this they have some things in plastic. That's the what Tartarus Terminators and the Cataphracti.
Yeah, and
Okay,
actually,
because that's what I
Well,
pulled
that's
up.
good for army building. I was saying for the
Okay.
terrain.
No,
So
not
for the
for terrain.
okay,
I was talking about
not for
just
terrain.
for
Okay.
models themselves. It took me a moment to pull them up.
oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So,
So
yeah.
for models on Games Workshop, they have
mhm.
the Mark III Space Marines, and they also have the Mark. Where are you? The Mark
Mark 3, Mark 4,
Mark
Tartarus,
4.
Cataphracti.
Yeah, and then Tartarus armor and Cataphracti armor are also Horus Heresy variants. So I know Steve said you could buy a box, but honestly, for like a
By
hundred
two.
bucks, you buy what a Mark III set, and then you buy some
What's the Mark III set
Tartarus.
under?
It is under. So what you would do is
Troops.
you would go to the Warhammer 40,000 section.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Space Marines.
Yep.
You click on Space Marines.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
and then you click on Elite or Troops. There'll be the troops will obviously be in Troops. The elites, the Terminators will be under Elites. And then you just scroll down. The Mark III is right there for $50, 10 models. Um, and then the Tartaros armor or Cataphract armor is just a little bit under. So for $110, unless you buy it from a store that gives you like 20% off, but let's just say you buy it from GW, for
Mm.
$110, you have yourself already a 500-point force.
Absolutely. In fact, that's what I did for my Dark Angels demo army. 500
And then,
points, 2 boxes, some
yeah,
upgrades from my bits box,
actually,
just to
fun
add
fact.
some flair.
I was gonna say, fun fact for 170, add a Contemptor Dreadnought because you're allowed that in Zomortalis, 60 mil base.
Yeah.
Contemptor,
Or a
and there you
box
go.
knot. Boxy
Or a
knots are
box
also
knot, or like
a-okay.
a normal Dreadnought. Yeah. So very cheap starting point in. Used to be much more expensive because they all used to be resin. Now that literally doesn't exist for at least a starting point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a great basically low barrier, miniatures wise thing. Um, I love this format a lot because it's a smaller game space. It's fast because you know it's literally like 3 to 5 units aside most of the time. Um, and because you have so few models, every model you lose, you kind of feel it in your battle plan. So you have to play tactically. Um, it's just fun. Um,
It is.
however,
So
there are some downsides. To make a good Zomortalis table, it's a little bit more labor than a regular table because you have to have a lot of terrain in a small space and in such a way that it makes like, you know, winding corridors and, you know, lots of line of sight blocking. It's a more terrain intense format. Um, you take an entire 6x4 table's worth of terrain and condense it down to a 3 foot by 3 foot area, and you still might wish you had a little bit more for Zomortalis table. Um, But like I mentioned earlier, you could make your own out of insulation foam, cork sheets. Like you could definitely craft up your own version and have the same level of fun out of it.
Alright.
Also, it locks out a lot of the bigger models, like I said, which is a boon because it helps with the balance a little, and a con because you don't get to use those bigger toys that look really pretty and are really fun when you get to use them, but they don't physically fit. And then the big con. You end up spending, if you buy all the books, like from Forge World, you end up spending more money on books than models when you're playing at this points level. And that feels really bad. But, go get in on it with a friend, split the cost of the books, and it gets better. It gets a lot better. And that's my
Shrug.
basic run through. That's my
Yeah,
basic
no,
run through of Zomortalis. Got any additions to that, Dan?
no, that's actually pretty perfect. You can always Google Zomortalis boards, and you can see how beautiful and how complex some of the boards get. The most famous Zomortalis boards use the Forge World tiles, where they literally build winding. You know what it reminds me of? The old video game Gauntlet. You know what I mean? Where you have these winding corridors in a dungeon, and there are blips, and you don't know what the blip is.
Ooh,
Um,
Space Hulk.
That's Space
Space
Hulk.
Hulk.
If you
Yeah,
have a
Yeah.
copy of
duh.
Space Hulk, you could
You
even
should
use
have
the
just said
tiles for
Space Hulk
that.
for freaking duh. Yeah, no. So that's basically what it is. What's really cool, by the way, is if people don't want to do Zone Mortalis, they want to do something about the same size. Like you can this the next one I'm going to talk about is weird because it's um in between a normal game and Zone Mortalis. It can be as big as a normal game. It can be as small as Zone Mortalis. And that's Centurion. So Centurion is, I should warn you, is not official rules, but it is extremely widely accepted by the 30k community. It's one of those like the best way and funny enough, we just thought it's kind of like LVO rules. You know how like LVO kind of makes up rules sometimes, or they'll change rules around, and then everyone just kind of generally accepts that that's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
That's what Centurion is. That's like, for example, they changed. I'll give you a very. They changed the Custodes Alaris captain to count as a heroic intervention. Now everyone's doing that, even though it's not in the rules, because LVO is that's what it is. Centurion is generally widely accepted and played at most events. So what Centurion is again, it's a mixture of normal games. It's a limited force organization chart. You can play on a 4x4 or 6x4. It does require terrain, but not as much as Zone Mortalis. So you're not playing in the winding corridors. It's more. It's like it almost kind of reminds me of like infinity level terrain. Because
Okay.
essentially what Centurion is infantry brawls. So what it does is it limits the amount of you could still bring a no wait, hold on, pause. I don't think you can even bring a vehicle. I think you could bring a dreadnought. But you're limited to the amount of monstrous creatures, and by the way, monstrous creatures meaning like the
All of
Mechanicum monstrous
Mechanicum.
yeah, Mechanicum or demons. But it's also limited. It limits the amount of vehicles you can bring, and its focus is infantry battles. Um, so if you don't want to play like the Zone Mortalis style combat, which does modify the original rules, right? Which is like it modifies the strength of the flamer, modifies strength of the blast. That doesn't happen in normal rules. You just play Centurion, which is literally normal rules, but just balanced to be more infantry, because people might not be able to afford 5 million tanks or whatever, right? They might just be able to afford the infantry. And it's heavily this can be a con, this can be a pro. It depends on what you like. Some people like the heavy infantry bias and small amount of vehicle presence. Some people hate it. But that's what this game is for. It's for people who want that generally um, smaller feel of a game, but they don't have to play a normal game. Um, because it's limited vehicle, it is slower movement. Like you can't use rhinos to ride across walls or land raiders. But again, it does give you that ability to play a smaller game without learning new rules like Zorn Mortalis, if that makes sense. Um, I think that's really it.
It's a pretty good
I can't,
summary, I think.
yeah,
It's 30k, but small.
diet. It's diet 30k.
Yeah.
Which so this is why like I'm going to disagree with Steve a little bit actually here. I know people like so a lot of people say Zomortalis is a great starting point. I actually prefer Centurion as a starting point, only because with Zomortalis it does require that level of terrain building and line of sight blocking and corridor building. Centurion just requires that you have a normal 40k board and you play on a 4x4. Um, so that's just my take. But of course, opinions are like buttholes. Everyone's got them. um, and then normal games. I mean, either of us could talk about this one.
Normal is a very relative term, but yeah.
Yeah, normal.
So
normal, quote unquote.
yeah, 30k is basically tuned around this points level. As some built-in restrictions that help a lot too. So a typical 30k game is anywhere between about 2,000 points to about 3,500 points. That's a wide range.
It's a very
The
wide range.
typical for our group tends to be about 2,500 to 3,000 points,
Yeah, that I was
or
gonna
like
say
a
that's
just
the more normal.
let's just play a game.
Yes,
The
that's
smaller end of that is
usually
the 2,000. If I want to play a sillier game, that's the 3,500.
the
Um,
mid range is 25 to 3,000.
yeah, the reason it's such large numbers, and playing 40k is like, wait a minute, that's like a game and a half. Where why spend so many points on stuff?
I'm gonna be spending 6 hours.
It's
No, you won't. No,
nah.
you won't.
So the reason you see points like that is because that's what allows more options to emerge in terms of the weird units, the super heavy units, and Primarchs. So the way 30k is structured, at most one quarter, I believe, it's either
It's one
25% or
quarter. Yep.
I'm
20%.
pretty sure,
One
No,
yeah.
it's
quarter, yeah.
25, 25.
Up to a quarter of your points max can be spent on Lords of War, which is going to be your super heavies, your Primarchs, your, screw you, I'm a 10 power level archdemon. Like all of that is Lords of War. And so it's heavily restricted because you only use a quarter of the points. It's like, oh, well, I have a Bane Blade. The minimum game size can take a Bane Blade in is about 2,500 points. Because a Bane Blade's about 500 times 4 is 2,000, but it could be a little more with upgrades. Might be a little less bare bones, I'm not
That's a
sure.
base Beyblade without last cannons and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So like you could have like your tricked out Bane Blade in a 2,500 point game. And by the way, Space Marines take Bane Blades, which is really cool. They look great.
Should have pointed that out.
But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, you could take a Space Marine Bane Blade. You can make the Bane Blade BS4, which means it hits on threes because it uses the old Ballistic Skill inversion chart. But hitting on threes with the Storm Lord is hilarious because you just roll a ton of dice, you shred things. It's great. Um, yeah, this is the normal game size is big for that reason. Gonna see a lot of points chewed up by big things like that, or Land Raiders are 200 points for like the cheapest possible Land Raider that doesn't even have a heavy bolter turret on it. You could take a Spartan, which is basically a bigger Land Raider, and then put 10 Terminators inside of that, and that will be a ton of points. Like there are lots of high-priced units that you now get to use in this game size.
I mean, a normal
The
Space
small
Marine
one, the
squad.
small ones are
Yeah,
still totally
a
worth it
normal
too.
Space Marine squad can go up to 20 Marines, and
Yep.
that's what 400 points without
No,
upgrades.
no, no. It's like two and change.
Oh, two and change. All right. So
Yeah.
for two and change, you're taking 20 Space Marine bodies, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's bolters and that's 3+ armor save. That's a lot of hard. That's a lot of tough.
Yep.
And the games don't
Militia
last.
armies. Your infantry squads can all load up in Gorgons, which are basically giant D-Day Lander tanks. Just rolling across the table, carrying up to 50 dudes in a tank,
Yeah.
opening up that front hatch, and
I,
just bodies start pouring out.
I mean,
Like,
it's funny because people, a 40k player might hear this and hear like, "Oh my god, a 3,000 point game that must take like 6-7 hours." No, it doesn't. The game is exceptionally deadly, and this is why it's balanced at this point level because shit will die, um,
oh
and
yeah.
It's not like when people hear that they're like, oh my god, I don't want my stuff to die immediately off the table. It's not gonna you're not gonna get, it's not 40k. You're not gonna get one shot off the table on turn one on a live event from Orcs. Ooh, the sass. Um, but you will lose units. I do mean units over the game turns. Um, and that's how it's played. Um, but the con here is that it is a bigger game. But I mean, again, no one's gonna.
It's bigger than old school 40k. Like I remember when I started playing 40k in like 2008, 2010, like that area. A typical game was like 1,500 points. When towards the end of that like era, it was like 1850 for a game, which was like whoa, whoa, whoa. We went up 100 points from 1750. Oh my gosh, I fit in a whole extra squad with that. Like, it's bigger than it used to be.
Yes.
So it is a bigger game.
I will also point out that at this point score, because you have access to more units, and later on we'll talk about, by the way, the different legions and stuff, and just give you like a very small breakdown of the different legions. But this is also where, like, and I hate this term a little bit, but I will use it. This is where Death Stars start coming into play, and it's almost like you don't even plan for them to happen, but they happen. So, like, because you're playing 3,000 points, you might want to take that really freaking cool unit of, and I'll give David a second to pull it up. Right. If you go under Salamanders, right?
On the Forge World website.
Yep.
On the Forge World website, you go under Salamanders. I think these are one of the sexiest units in the game. You might want to bring either a unit of Fire Drakes or...
Let me try to reload their page. Their page is so slow.
Fire Drake, Terminators.
Behind the scenes, I have to now register as a human again, so 1 second.
No, I have it here. All right, so what are we looking for? They have Fire Drakes and Pyroclasts.
Yeah, Pyroclasts. Yep,
Fire Drakes.
Okay,
Fire
so you want to look at
Pyroclasts. I prefer...
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say those two models are just beautiful, beautiful models. Very expensive points wise, but they're excellent models. But you stick Fire Drakes in a Spartan. That's a tough unit. That's not a. I mean, it's close to a Death Star. Maybe you got to tweak it out a little bit, but that's
it is a Death Star. It is a high points unit that once it reaches its objective, it hits it and it crushes it. Because you could fit 10 of those dudes in the Spartan with your commander and the chaplain. So now they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. They got thunder hammers, so Marines that fail saves instantly die. They do have storm shields because they're salamanders.
Oh yeah, oh no,
they are insanely durable. And if I remember right, I think they're one of the like 3 squads that has 2 wounds.
Oh my god! Okay, yeah. So I'm going to take back what I just said because I should.
That is 100% a Death Star.
This is an old. Remember, this is old school 40k. So you don't have 3 wound Primaris Marines or 2 wound Space Marines. These are everyone's 1 wound. To have a 2 wound Terminator is already like holy shit balls. This guy is tough.
Yeah, they're 2 wounds.
Yeah. Whoa, yeah.
They are 2 wounds, and they are one of 3 army. Well. 4 with Custodes, I think. One of 3 armies that I know of that have access to a 3-up invul.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing that doesn't exist in the game.
Nuts.
Like, Eternal Warrior, damn near non-existent.
Rare. Fucking
3-up
rare.
Invulnerable, fucking non-existent. That's so. It's again. It's 4-up invul, a little bit more, but it's rare, I'd say. So yeah, this is
so a 10-man squad without any upgrades is 500 points. The transport you're throwing them in is like another 350 points, I think.
350.
So that's almost 1,000 points. That's over 1,000 points with the commanders and upgrades in a single tank. Just going across the table, ready to demolish.
Understand why it's 3,000 points is normal.
But you don't think, I'm going to take this unit, it's going to crush things. It kind of just, this unit's cool, I want to run it.
So what do these Pyroclasts have in front of their face? Because that's the unit I have pulled up now for about the last minute. What is that? Is that
so Pyroclasts, yes, that is a Drake pelt.
Okay.
The idea of a Pyroclast the have a Pyroclasts is that they come from a world where they hunt fire drakes. They're the salamanders, and so because basically the fluff is that they hold. And they're basically the thermal incendiary weapons of the Legion. Their role is just basically to bring destruction, and so to kind of embody that, they wear the drake pelt that they hunted as youngins.
All right.
It's really cool.
They are also a really dope unit. Their flamer can attack in 2 different shooting profiles. One that's like a typical heavy flamer, one that's like a little mini melta-gun, and then in melee it also counts as a dope weapon if I remember right.
Yeah,
I want to pick up these models, so they're in stock. Ooh,
Yes, they are.
that was really bad to find out. That was
We're doing a
really bad to
podcast.
find
It's really
out.
shocking.
Oh.
I'm curious
You
for
right,
future.
Just throw money away.
I will point out, since we mentioned it before, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, what I was going to say, my curiosity is, since we're on the U.S. side, it shows the prices and all. I wonder if that's going to be a problem. I wonder if in the future when we show things, if I'm going to have to trim the screen a bit so that stuff isn't showing. But GW's website, I wouldn't imagine they care, but who knows? We're pumping up their stuff. We're making sales for them. So.
Yeah.
I mean, when I watch Australians talk about this stuff,
Yeah.
I see the number, I have a little heart attack.
Like, yeah.
Like, oh wait, those are dollary dues.
So sorry for our
okay.
Australian listeners. Oh man. I will point out, Dave, since you're on the Salamanders anyway, if
yes.
you just scroll down to the second row, that's a Contemptor Legion Dreadnought. So what's really cool about Forge World is that every Legion has a specific Dreadnought, not different rule-wise, but you can take a Contemptor that has the iconography of your Legion. And they're all different. They're all literally different, which I think is fucking fantastic. But yeah.
Everybody steals the Death Guard one for their own armies. Like, the Death Guard Dreadnought is in everyone's army, because it's one of the best.
No. Blood Angels. I'm sorry. I
maybe for you and your Custodians, but every Marine player has stolen at least one Death Guard Dreadnought and converted it for their Legion, because it has some really dope details.
All right, let's take a look at this. So which one should I start with? Which of those two?
Yeah, we're gonna pause a second.
That's fine. Which one should I start with?
Look at Blood Angels first, since we're on Loyalists. Let's look at Blood Angels first.
Give me a second.
Yeah,
all right, so we'll go to theirs. They're Contemptor, right? The guy with shadow arms.
They have technically two. They have an Incendious and a normal.
He's got a good iconography. All right. Overall, I like it. It is definitely exceptionally Blood Angels. So I could see why you can't use it in a different army. You couldn't attempt it because it 100% looks Blood Angels. Let me do the 360 view of this bad boy.
Ooh.
It does look good.
And I'm also looking at the Death Guard right now. Really?
Yes.
Right.
No, I'm so disagreeing with that.
All right, so I like that guy. So let me get out of Loyalists. Let me go to the Traitors. And we want to go to Death Guard. The Death Guard one I'm more used to seeing, yes. Here's why. I'm not saying it's necessarily better. I think it's better for if you want to put him in your 40k army, if you want to put him in your Chaos army, those sort of things. Because, like I said, he's very plain. He's not covered in iconography that screams Death Guard to me. Now, there's people who probably know better, something like that, and says, oh, maybe this one particular piece or something you see shows him to be Death Guard. Does he have anything in particular that shows him to be Death Guard? Is it like something on his shoulder?
He has a 14
so if you look on
his,
and there's a little on his ankle, he has the Death Guard symbol. That's it.
Okay, I see the.
Yeah, but even that,
so subdued.
It's very subdued, and you could just paint it a different color. Okay, he's just chaos.
And I love the studs. Studs.
No, I could see
if you were the little details on this thing make it in my opinion, a perfect representation of like the technology of Horus Heresy.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
Nice. It's got some curves, but it's like utilitarian design.
I will
That's
say
like the core of all technology.
Yeah. I will say if my goal was to get a Contemptor because I want to put him into my non-particular Legion army, this is probably the guy I'm going for. Because
actually, hold on.
You could do a very clean scheme for him for a loyal type. and you could do a very dirty or grimy or rusted scheme like they have here if you're doing you know a traitor or a heretic side. So no, I do see why he would be the most popular. To me, I
But
do see that.
the cool thing is, if you want that special Legion Dreadnought, you absolutely can get it.
Yeah.
Because
Definitely.
every Legion has a specific Contemptor variant, which is really, really cool.
Even the white scars.
Oh, the White Scars one I love. It's so stupidly White Scar, um, to the nth degree.
All right. I'll pull him
The
up.
fucking little top knot just gets me every time. The White Scars Contemptor.
Yeah, I'm pulling him up. Where
Alright.
is he? Oh, he's further down. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
they're.
he's further
Oh
down.
yeah, yeah. He's got a little top knot. Look at him. He's fancy. He's a fancy boy. I
Yeah,
like him.
great.
I do.
The tooth, the nails. But yeah, no. So that's so. The tangent happened.
That's fine. I'll just keep going
No,
through
but yeah,
pictures
that's
of these guys
no,
while
yeah,
you
no.
talk about stuff.
No, but that's normal games. And again, we'll talk about we'll go through the different legions and kind of show you because the cool thing about Forge World, and I don't think we mentioned this before. I told Dave this before the podcast. What's really cool is that you get a lot of your plastic from Games Workshop, and then you get your special units from Forge World. It used to be much more expensive because everything was Forge World, including all the marked armor, which sucked. It was very expensive. But now, because Games Workshop owns the plastic, it's fairly easy to start 30k. And again, if you want to get resin, that's where it gets more expensive. But again, you could just start with all plastic. Just Tactical Marines and Terminators is a good army.
Wait, my army for 30k, like my big Iron Warriors army, is all plastic except for one unit. So you could absolutely have a plastic army and play big games. Like I love my 20-man squads of dudes with bolters and chainsaws just running across the table. Maybe they make the other side, maybe they don't. I've killed so many custodies in combat with my shooty space marines.
Yeah, just share what
It's hilarious.
To give you an idea,
Bodies.
people might
Space
be
marines could be a horde army in this game, which is absolutely hilarious. I love it.
To give people an idea of what the hell we're talking about, a 20-man block of Space Marines in rapid fire range, so 12 inches, puts out 40 shots, which is already a lot. But then you can give them bolt pistol and chainsword and bolter. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, you could upgrade to also have a chainsword or trade out your bolter for a
exactly.
chainsword.
So then they charge and so they're one attack.
You get one attack base, +1 for having a pistol and close combat weapon pair, and then +1 because they charged. So that's 3 attacks on the charge per model.
Dudes. So that's 100 attacks.
You're really bad at math, Dan. That's 60.
No, 40 from the shots, 60 from the melee.
Oh, but you can't charge after your rapid fire.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm just talking about Iron Warriors because you can.
That's right. I can, but you can't.
Yeah, I keep forgetting you can, not everyone else can. This goes into Legion rules.
I also lose the charging bonus attack if I do that.
Oh, okay, okay. That makes sense. But still, that's still a lot of attacks. That's still a lot of fucking attacks.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's funny enough.
Bigger games, lots of models.
Yeah.
But this is like kind of like the I don't know how to, I like the average 30k game is something like this. It's going to be like, it's going to be like 4 troops units, 3 elites units, and then like a couple of heavy supports, and between 1 and 3 HQs.
Yeah, it's very varied. It's nice. You made fun though of I was not made fun, but you actually kind of segue to the final type of game you could play. Because you mentioned our game.
It's named after you, Dan.
Oh, shut the fuck up. This is the Dan invites you to a game here. Which I actually enjoy playing these levels because then balance doesn't go out the window. I feel like balance actually really does balance out here.
Dan likes bringing all his toys.
People. Yeah, no, this is the 3,500 plus, like 5,000 points to 20,000 points. It depends on whether you play with 2 people or with 4 people as a group, or it's an apocalypse level. This is where shit just starts going absolutely. This is Istvan 5 level, fucking insane. Usually a single force organization chart is completely filled up. If not, you take 2 force organization charts. You can sometimes you can bang this out in 3 to 4 hours, depending on how much dies, or you can take a whole day to do this, depending if you have like multiple people. Um, this is
Army
end game.
composition affects that a lot too.
Yeah, this is
Like
end.
custodians are gonna play faster than militia.
Yes. Oh my God. I
For
don't even
sure.
want to think of a militia at 5,000 points. You had 5,000 points was already, or
I
it was
physically ran out of deployment zone in the 5,000 point game we played because I had about 100 Space Marines, 2 Land Raiders, and 3, 6.
You had 3 Vindicators,
I had like
3
8
Predators,
Rhino chassis vehicles. I had a squadron of 3 Predators, a squadron of 3 Vindicators, and a couple scattered Rhinos.
a
And a
Scorpion,
Whirlwind. Yep.
and a Whirl. Yeah, it was fucking nuts. This is one of, like I said, this is not the normal size game. This is more of like bring all the toys you want. Bring that fucking war. You can actually bring a Warhound in a normal game, by the way, but always ask. That one's a little bit more powerful.
Minimum of 3,000 points to field a Warlord.
Yeah.
Warhound. God, not a Warlord. Warhound.
Warhound. But yeah, no, this is like the ultimate kind of dream where you pit 2 painted armies against each other, a massive army, shit just dies. Fucking
It looks stunning.
ordnance coming in. I mean, for Christ's sake, we were joking because our game took only 3 hours? It's like a normal 40k game almost.
3-4 hours, something like that.
No,
Because I took about an hour to
yeah, I was gonna
write
say,
my
the
list
majority of time
and
wasn't
deploy.
yeah, a good chunk of time was just devoted to you deploying. Took me 5 fucking seconds. Took you forever.
All right, so I'm going to interrupt you here because it's now just 7 points. So right now we are on the Space Wolves Legion Contemptor Dreadnought because I've just been going through Dreadnought after Dreadnought, and this guy's got a monocle.
No, he don't.
Wait, what?
Yeah, pull him up.
Oh
He's got a
yeah,
monocle.
he has.
Don't know this. Neither of us play fucking Space Wolves. Hold on.
Yeah, go pull him up. He's got a monocle.
Hold on.
Shit, put up Space Wolves.
On the YouTube, yeah, on the YouTube for this, I am gonna put down, and we're gonna ask for anyone who watches and looks through this, which one is their favorite. I have my favorite so far, but haven't seen them all yet. But yeah, he's got a monocle.
You want to put up the Custodies? Custodies technically pattern.
Yeah, I will put him up when I get to him.
Space Wolf I've ever seen.
I know. Look at him, and the gem in the middle of his forehead helps pull. And the fact it's kind of almost like gold-looking glasses around him, that also helps that sort of look. But he looks very classy. He will invite you over for tea before he smashes you into the ground.
I do like that it comes with the wolf pelt on the top as a separate piece. That's really cool.
Yeah.
They just all look cool. They look so like their Legion. I love that about it. That's one of the coolest things about Forge. Also, by the way, since you are looking at Contemptors, and I don't want to spoil it, but if you look at Havarl Redblade, Jarl of the 4th Grade Company, just I want to see your reaction.
Well, okay, so Space Wolves. Let's see. Where's okay. This here he is. All right, let's take a look at this boy.
Does he remind you of someone from Austin Powers?
Oh, yeah, he does. He would want you to get into his belly. That is definitely for sure.
Get in my belly.
For him, sadly.
No.
I really think it's a paint scheme.
I was right. It is a technically sound paint scheme, but I think the weapon, I feel the color should be a little bit more blended for my zoomed in. And the fact they darkened all around his head, okay, it's the inside, he's wearing his, their sort of bodysuit stuff, all that. But it makes it look like on my screen like his head is floating. It's hard to notice the connection.
I do want to point out, though, if you look at his gun, that's what he's using one-handed. He shoots a heavy bolter one-handed.
His bat. Well, if he used 2 hands, he wouldn't be able to wield that axe on someone.
Exactly.
I do like the axe. I just would have liked a little more blending.
That he fucking shoots a heavy bolter one-handed. What a boss.
Yeah.
What was that? So yeah, no.
They don't do full belt fed with him though. That's weird.
So yeah, obviously the Dan-sized games are the fringe, but you'll find them at events. Like you'll find them at Apocalypse events where you can bring 2,000 points, but everyone's bringing 2,000 points, and you'll end up with like 50,000 points on the table. I mean, again, the con is that these games can take forever.
That's true of any war game, though. Any game.
You might hear You might hear Steve gnashing his teeth in a couple seconds. I mean, literally during Steve's movement phase, I was painting and finishing 3 Caladius tanks for the Custodes. Steve witnessed the power of how quickly I can fucking paint.
How does one learn this power?
Painting fucking 20,000 points of Custodes. That's how.
Yeah.
Eventually, you know where all the cabling is. But yeah, no. That's at the end of your list when you have a big ass army or you have multiple friends playing. But it's still fun as hell to play. That's one of those like it's like again you play Apocalypse. That's what it is. But yeah, those are the basic sizes of the game. Really, Centurion and normal games are your most average, with Zomortalis and Apocalypse, I'm just call Apocalypse, being your fringe.
Zomortalis, I think, is definitely more common than Apocalypse, though, or maybe not.
No. Well, yeah. So if I had to rank it, I'd say normal, Centurion, Zomortalis, Apocalypse.
That sounds about right for frequency and typicalness. Yeah. Like Dan said earlier, Centurion is, or like I said, Zomortalis. Those are like great starting points. It lets you play with toys, but your toys aren't going to get overwhelmed with giant stuff early. It's a great point. Like if you want to kick up a league with your club, that's like a good points level to do that kind of stuff with, because it's like, it's like you pick up a couple squads, come back in a month with it painted, play some games. Oh wow, you made a really cool squad there. I'm gonna add that to my army next. Just little things like that.
Yeah, definitely Centurion or Zomortalis. Which, funny enough, segues us into probably the most important fucking part of this. Besides, I mean, yeah, we could talk about legions, but I think this is my opinion. I think this is the most important part because, in my opinion, like if you have old models or if you have an army, this is kind of what people want to do, and that's how do you port over models, right? How do you bring models over to 30k? Because technically, some of the models can be ported over. So I'm gonna let Steve handle the Marines.
Yeah, some of them you just pick up, drop in, and you're perfect. Some of them it's like, okay, well, technically they didn't use that insignia yet. Technically that kind of armor wasn't invented yet, but it's possible that, they were doing test beds of it at this time and just enter widespread use. Like, okay, porting over old armies. Space Marines. Really obvious. There's going to be Space Marines in Horus Heresy. So, you could probably bring your Space Marine army from 40k into 30k. Yes. Generally speaking, yes. I know the lore says that the Primaris project started at this time under Gulliman's orders.
It's a fun little retcon there.
Yes. Yeah.
That's so weird. Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. It took Call 10,000 years to get all them figured out.
They were just frozen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. But at this time, you're not going to find Primaris Space Marines or any of their vehicles. Some stuff is good for conversion bits, like the upgrade sets have some great conversion bits. The helmets for Primaris Marines are similar to Mark IV helmets, which are great, but it's not a Primaris game. We're talking about Firstborn Space Marines right now. There is some good news. Most of the vehicles for Firstborn Marines, you just literally pick it up, carry it over, drop it in, no problems. Forgerol does produce their own rhinos, their own predators, their own land raiders, and they're gorgeous models. They represent the typical variant you'd find. This is the Deimos pattern for all the Rhino chassis vehicles. Similar stylings to what the Sisters of Battle tanks use. So if you wanted to do that style in plastic, and you're conversion savvy, you could pick up the Sisters kits and drop those in. And for the Land Raider, it is the Phobos pattern. Gorgeous kits. You don't have to use those though. The pure plastic, quote unquote, Mars pattern Rhino that Games Workshop makes, beautiful, phenomenal. Weapon, technically the weapons are different on a Rhino. Instead of a Storm Bolter, you have a Combi Bolter. No one's gonna care that you have a Storm Bolter on it. Literally no one. If you want to add that extra bit of flavor and flair, you could take two bolters, put them together, and make a Combi Bolter. no one's going to stress it.
So
Most land speeder loadouts transfer over good.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about, because I know with the Space Marines themselves, if you're bringing your current 40k boys to the game, people, at least by the way you guys talked about it the other week, people are going to maybe look at you a little weird or want you to start changing them over. That doesn't hold for the vehicles. It's fine. You get the correct period Marines, but the vehicles, people don't trouble you too much.
So some weapon options go missing, and others are added.
Okay.
For example, in Horus Heresy, one of my favorite things to do is to take a Rhino and add a pintle-mounted multi-melta to it. Because all of a sudden, this cheap little troop transport now can potentially take out heavy tanks. It's so silly, but I love it.
Or Predators only have an autocannon. If you're talking Blood Angels, then
it's not that they only have the autocannon; it's that they lose all the options. Sorry, no, they have everything except they lose the twin-link las cannon.
They don't use las cannon options, essentially.
They have the sponsons, but not the turret.
Land Raiders, there's only the normal Land Raider, which is the las cannon. There are no
only the las cannon Land Raiders.
You don't have a Crusader variant.
There are Land Raiders that have las cannons on the sides and in that front turret mount.
Yes.
Or heavy flamers in the front if you want. Triple las cannon is a fun build.
So it's weird. The chassis ports over, and most of the time the weapons port over, but it's not always 1-to-1.
Okay, but that's not the kind of thing where you're gonna get
reflected in the lore for a lot of those things too.
Yeah, you're not gonna get crap from someone. I'm saying you use the appropriate weapon, but no one's gonna look and say, "Hey, that's the 40k one, not the one from Heresy," because your Rhino looks a little weird.
No, oh god, no.
Okay,
No.
That's good to know, because I know for other stuff it could be an issue.
So, fun fact: when GW released the plastic set of Mark 3 and Mark 4 and Tartarus and Cataphracti, right?
Yeah.
On the box it says Warhammer 30,000, Warhammer 40,000, which is really cool because it tells you that it can go between. On the Predator box, if I'm not mistaken, it also says, not the Predator box, it's on one of the vehicles. On one of the Space Marine vehicles, it has that symbol of 40k, 30k.
Oh, okay.
I know it doesn't have the Predator. I know it's not for the Predator because the Predator has the las cannon one, so las cannons can't transfer over. But oh my god, what was I saying? But I think for the land speed, I want to say it's the land speed. Let me see if I can find the stupid land. I don't think it's gonna give me the stupid box. That was the problem. I guess they're fast attack. Sure. Yeah, it doesn't have the box. Of course not. Oh wait, it does. Oh god, that's the old box though. Oh my god, thanks GW for not updating. Son of a gun. It didn't update the box on the website, so never mind. But yeah, some of the boxes will say Warhammer 40,000, Warhammer 30,000. So no one will care that because it exists in 30k. Like the normal Dreadnought, the normal plastic boxy, stupid looking Dreadnought, is in 30k.
Okay.
Oh, that's what it says. It says, I'm looking at the Tartarus Terminators now. It says Warhammer 40,000, the Horus Heresy. That's what it says. But yeah, the normal box doesn't matter.
Okay.
That's the cheapest way to bring a Dreadnought in.
All right.
Yeah, they're fun. But that does lead us to other things. Missing weapons. Dreadnoughts lose assault cannons as an option. Unless you're Blood Angels. Then you fit it inside of your fist, which is really funny.
You do have assault cannon fists.
Yeah. Other things to note. Drop pods, they're good to go. But if you're drop podding, one of the downsides of 30k, everything is drop podding. The only way to field a regular non-Dreadnought drop pod, you can use the regular drop pod as a Dreadnought drop pod, by all means. There was like a 2-year period where the official line was, where we don't have Dreadnought drop pods available, use the regular drop pod, it's event legal. But drop pods, if you want to drop pod a squad of Marines, unfortunately that's not an option unless your entire army is going that route.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is really unfortunate. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's one of those weird rights of war restriction things. I assume there's some
Talk
sort
about the
of
rights
like,
of war, yeah,
yeah,
later.
we can talk about that later. Basically, it's a specific army theme to trade in your option to take a rhino for an option to take a drop pod.
Got it.
Um, yeah. Other things that port over nicely, tactical squads. Um, there's three parts of the model that people could look at your model and go, oh, that's not a 30k model. That is the nose, that is the knees, and weirdos get upset about bolters.
Oh,
Bolters are technically fine. The
we're
bolters
gonna
are technically fine. The Godwin pattern does exist. If you look in the books, you
yeah, I
see
know. It's
models
people need
with
to shut
that
up.
weapon. But some people, for every reason, hate on that gun.
I should
But
point out that again, Games Workshop, it's like, and actually, I know some people that have this because they like the old armor sets. Um, Technically, my Mark V armor did exist in the Heresy at the very, very, very. Oh, not Mark V. That's Corvus.
Mark Six.
What's Mark Six?
Hold
Mark
on,
Six.
okay.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
just for Dan's benefit and all of yours, so you don't listen to Dan and get confused. Um, the Great Crusade was started running Mark II armor. They fought the squats, developed Mark III armor because they needed extra front plating. Then they consolidated technologies they had gathered throughout the Crusade, made Mark IV the Maximus pattern because it's the maximal like technological benefit. They started on the Mark V project, which was going to be Beakies, um, but then the heresy happened, so they had stopgap armors developed, which basically I take a panel from this, a panel from that, I throw some molecular bonding studs on it, and that became Mark V. And then what was the developmental Mark V became the Mark VI, the Corvus armor. Towards the end of the heresy, they had the Indominus project, which was both our modern Terminators and our modern Mark VII Aquila pattern Space Marine armor, which is like your typical Terminator armor. If you are playing Blood Angels or Imperial Fists and doing a Siege of Terra themed army, it has a place. Generally speaking, not as much. Um, and then the last Mark armor before to talk about is Mark 8 armor. That's Errant. The, the kit that best covers that, I would say, is the Deathwatch Veterans kit. Technically, post heresy development, but the main defining feature of that armor is that front what's the word for it, the neck
Gorget.
protector, the
It's a
gorget. Yes.
Gorget. Gorget.
Yeah, there are models for heresy that have that on their armor, so if you like that, by all means use that, like no one's stopping you. But yeah, the things that look out of place on heresy models are gonna be the knee pads, as dumb as it sounds, and the helmets, both of which are actually fairly easy conversions to fix.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it audibly very well, but basically, you could take the Space Marine knee pad and for the round ones, which is the Mark 7 design, you
Hmm.
kind of square off the top and bottom and cut out a
Yep.
little bit
That's
of the
what it looks.
corners,
Yep.
and now it looks like Mark 4 legs.
Yep. It's
Done.
literally you just take a knife and you square it.
Yep.
That's literally all you
The
have to do.
single armor plate ones, that's like just that one smooth plate. That's Mark 6 armor. You're good to go. Or if you want, you could just cut a little groove in it and also make that into Mark 4 armor. The arms, perfectly fine. No one's gonna stress about the arm shape. If you want, you can fill in that little kind of dip it has, and to make it more Mark IV ish, but it's also perfectly valid. That's Mark 6 armor arms, so you're good to go. And then the helmet, the how do I describe it? The sad face, the stormtrooper helmet, whatever you want to call it, like the typical Space Marine helmet that's not Primaris. That design is the Mark 7 helmet. If if you're into it, you could sculpt a little beak sort of shape onto it to make it into a variant Mark 6 armor, or you could try to do a little bit more detail, make it a Mark 4 armor, or you can smooth out the space around the grills, add some studs, and now it's Mark 5 armor. Oh yeah, you could also just add studs to your Mark 7 legs, add some cabling, and that also makes it Mark 5 armor. So If you have those models
Point out, by the
already,
way,
and
this
you
is for
aren't
yeah.
opposed to a little bit of work, you could port those over.
I should
Every last
port.
one
I
of them.
should. Yeah, I was gonna say. I was gonna point out at that point though. Honestly, just buy Mark III or buy Mark IV armor
Yeah.
from GW because
Sorry,
it's
that was a
plastic.
really long tangent. But
Yeah, I was gonna say the too long didn't want to hear that.
really long tangent.
Just buy
But
Mark III or Mark IV from
yeah.
GW or
So
from
yeah.
a store.
Yeah.
Um, I don't even
Loadout
know.
wise, okay. Porting over Space Marines, the units that could trip you up for like I'm gonna represent this with my old models while I replace it with new ones, while I convert them, while I what have you, right? Tactical squads and heresy start at 10 men, so you need at least 10 models, not 5, and you do not get your special and heavy weapons. No flamer missile launcher build, sadly. Um, everyone has a bolter except the sergeant who's fancy, or everyone has a chainsword and a bolt pistol, or a bolter and a chainsword. Like those three are the three builds for tactical squad.
I should point out that
You're,
if you run veterans, then
yes,
they mix weapons. My friend
yes.
John, and I know Dave knows John as well,
Yeah.
who has models that are literally older than me. Um, Jesus. The way he plays Heresy is that he has these old, literally rogue trader space marines, but one with missile launchers and flamers, and he just runs them as veterans, which is a right of war. Normally,
Oh,
veterans are
those
not
models are
troops.
perfect for heresy.
Yeah, actually they are.
Tiki's
But
perfect. They're
yeah,
really
oh yeah,
umber
they're old.
pattern bolters. They're Mark 6. They're perfect.
Yeah, but no,
Um,
he runs them as veterans so that he can mix the weapons. So there are ways around it. You absolutely
yeah,
don't get fucked.
yeah. But those aren't troops by default. So you have to build around veterans if you do that. But yeah, so your tactical squads, all bolters. Um, assault squads start at 10 men. They still get to do 1 in 5 swaps out a weapon, which is nice. I forget if Space Marines could take special melee weapons for 1 in 5. In
Yes.
Heresy, they can. Okay. I didn't remember 40k because it's been
Yeah.
many years since I played Space Marines in 40k. I think 5th edition was the last time I played Space Marines.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
5th edition. Yeah. I still have this up, but I was playing Tyranids. I never bothered to pick up my Space Marines at that point. But yeah, 10-man squads for tactical Marines and assault Marines, which are both of which are troops, so that's nice for that. But like Dan said, if you have those special weapons, you could run a veteran squad, same loadout, and you gain even more options. Like everyone can have a power weapon if you want. Everyone can have a combi weapon if you want. Things like that. And you can make that into a troop's choice if you play like Pride of the Legion, which is like your veteran cohort army. But yeah, that's your tactical squads ported over, all your bolter boys. Dreadnoughts, assault cannons, and hurricane bolters are missing, but everything else is good. Even double fist for like the ironclad version. That's good. The librarian boxy dreadnoughts unfortunately do not exist though. So sorry, Blood Angels
Wait.
players. Nope,
What about
nope,
Thousand
nope,
Sons?
nope. They don't have a boxy one. Only
Oh,
the contemptor.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
which they're missing in 40k, which is really
Yeah, I was gonna say they're missing
upsetting.
the 30k or the 40k version of
Yeah.
that. Okay. That's why I was like,
Next
wait a
up,
minute.
yeah. And then next up, Devastator Squads. Starts at 5 men, goes to 10 men, like usual. But every single model in a Devastator squad has the same heavy weapon, including the sergeant. So you'll have a squad of 5 las cannons if you go that route. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I took all my tactical squads, I merged them, now they're all bolters. We have all these, these flamers and these meltas sitting around. What do I do with them? Good news. Just like guardsmen in 40k, there are special weapon squads for 30k for your Space Marines. Woo! So basically, it's a squad of 5 guys to 10 guys, and they all have the same special weapon. So heavy weapon squad, Devastators, but for assault weapons. Kind of. Are Chaos Chosen like that? I think Chaos Chosen are like that, where they get
That I
more
don't. I
special
haven't played
weapons.
chaos ever, like in my
Yeah.
life.
Okay. Well, in any case, special weapon squads are a unit. They're called tactical support squads. They can't be your mandatory troops, but they are still troops. Um, So, it's 5 flamers, 5 meltas, Dan's favorite, 5 plasmas. Basically, all your special weapons get consolidated into that unit. If you play Primaris armies at all, these unit loadouts kind of sound familiar. Where do you think Gulliman got the idea for a squad of all bolters, a squad of all multi-meltas, a squad of all plasma guns? It's just heresy, baby.
Yeah, that's literally
But
Primaris
yeah,
are heresy loadouts.
the upside to this sort of unit configuration is that if you're attacking something, like your entire squad is properly kitted out to attack that. So, I'm shooting infantry. Good thing I only have bolters and I'm not having a feels bad multi-melta shot into a guardsman. On the flip side, if you have a bad matchup for your squad somewhere, they usually don't have an out for it. So upsides, downsides. And I think that concludes Space Marines.
That's Space Marines.
Tangents and all.
That's quite a bit. So here's the short tangent I will go on. So I went through with this all the Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Dan's favorite is obviously the Blood Angels one because that's what he said. I think the Dark Angels one is the best.
Let me check. Let me
It's
see.
also really nice.
I'm waiting for it to load up. Their page is kind of not
Honestly,
great.
They're all fucking nice at this point.
There's a couple that I wasn't big on.
Nice.
I will be entirely honest. There's a couple where I was like, but some of it is because they don't have 360 views on some of these, and some of them they don't show painted. And I think these really suffer when you don't see a decent paint scheme on them, because when it's just in the sort of gray resin, yeah, you see the details, but here they really pop. And honestly, I think what it sells it for me is his left shoulder, sort of the non, or his shoulders just in general, the non-smoothness that they give them.
Yeah,
that's what I think I like the
most. Did you see the Custodes ones or
no, actually I did pull those up. I'll pull those up now.
There's the Achilles and the Galatus. Those are the two of them.
Of course, they also named
time to jump into Custodes for Dan then.
Yeah,
or at least get that mentally prepared.
Well, yeah. So while
where are they under armies in Imperium? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So while he's doing that, let me talk about Custodes ports. It's 1-to-1. It's congratulations, you now have a 30k army. It's not exactly 1-to-1. I am kind of being slightly
facetious.
Not facetious, sarcastic, I guess, a little bit. But it damn near is 1-to-1. With Custodes, oh, there it is. I was gonna say, where the hell's my?
Sorry, I moved around the show notes, so it's like in order if we go back or whatever.
Custodes is damn near 1-to-1. There are some missing things, but funny enough, you can use those things in 30k, which is hilarious. So, for example, one of the missing things, and this drives me fucking insane, by the way. This is #1 pet peeve in 30k right now because it pisses me off. Alaris pattern armor is missing in 30k rules. It is not missing in the fucking fluff. They have it in the goddamn books. There is literally a special character in Alaris pattern armor. Why the fuck does Games Workshop hate money is beyond me. But there is no Alaris pattern armor rules in 30k. Okay, that rant is over. That being said,
and mentioned Rodimus Alaris. Not Alaris, Heteron.
Yes, as I mentioned before, they are excellent Heteron conversions. There is no model for so the Heterons for Custodes are your super elite, non-Terminator, Custodes. Now you might be saying, but Dan, Alaris are Terminator options. Yes, but they're on 40 mil bases. In 30k, the only Terminator quote-unquote option that Custodes have is on a 50 mil base. That's the Aquilon Terminators. So what people do is they take Alaris Terminators and then they just give them the weapons that they give the Heterons, like a Paragon Blade and a shield. And by the way, an Alaris with a shield looks fucking sexy. It's one of the coolest looking models. And they use the axe as like a Paragon Fist because there's not really a model for a Solarite Fist unless you want to spend like $400 on Solarite Fists. People just use axes as a Paragon Blade or a Solarite Fist. So yeah, Alaris pattern, not in legit in the fluff, not in the rules, but people use it. Okay, this one. The Virtus Praetor Bikes. technically, the Virtus Praetor bikes do not exist in 30k, and that is because they have a Hurricane Bolter, and Hurricane Bolters do not exist. But, I despise with an undying passion the Agamatus Jet Bikes from Forge World. And actually, I'll wait for Dave to put that. Well, Dave, first of all, let me interrupt myself. Did you see the Contemptors?
I did. Theirs are fine. There's nothing wrong with them, but they don't impress me quite as much. Like they're good. Their insignias are nice and all. Maybe it's a bit of the paint. I'm not huge on the general golds and reds.
Gold isn't great.
Gold. Like mine, this is me kind of self-promoting. I like what I did with mine with the silver and the blood red. But yeah, no, I don't like gold. But if you would really quick, Dave, since you're showing your computer screen, pull up the Agamatus Jet Bikes, please.
Just kind of are those on just somewhere else on Forge World?
No, Custodes.
Under
Custodes, yeah.
The only jet bike they said is Gryfalcon.
The Gryfalcon, sorry, yes, that's
okay.
Technically. So
that makes more sense.
I despise that style of bike almost entirely, and it's ironically colloquially known as the dick bike. I don't like it. What's ironic is like the underside of the bike looks fucking amazing with the cabling and the serrations. It's fucking beautiful, but the top of the bike looks awful in my opinion. What people sometimes do, and by people I mean me, but other Custodes players have done, and also a couple friends have done this. Like James does this with his Dark Angels. Someone else does this for White Scars. They'll use Virtus Praetor bikes because it has that. And this is Virtus Praetor bikes are the normal Games Workshop ones. It has that cool looking thing to it. What people used to argue was that the Agamatus bikes, the Gryfalcons, only came on a 60 mil base, so you couldn't really. You had to kind of switch the bases around because the Virtus Praetors came with either a 60 mil flight base or the 75 mil oval.
Mm-hmm.
However, whether Forge World heard our cries or not, I will never know. But now the Agamatus or the Gryfalcons ship with both bases, and because it ships with both bases, you can put it on an oval base. It basically is the Virtus Praetor. So if someone gives you shit for it, just tell them to fuck off. In my opinion, it literally, I literally think the Gryfalcon is one of the ugliest models in all of Horus Heresy. It is awful. No, I'm sorry. This is me playing Custodes. I fucking hate that model with an undying passion. Just use a Virtus Praetor. Land Raiders do not exist for Custodes. This is start crying now. Yeah, Land Raiders do not exist for Custodes. We use wub tanks. Use totally not stolen Eldar technology from the Webway tanks. All of Custodes vehicles are skimmers. So those are Forge World only. Sorry. Sisters don't use rhinos. They also use wub vehicles, which are the Acquisitors or the Dune vehicles, people like to call them. Also want to point out that this vehicle, again, oddly, remember how I made a rant? I made a rant 5 seconds about how Alaris are in the fluff of 30k, but there's no rules for them. Separate rant. The Acquisitor tanks that Custodes sisters can take, which are these big black tanks that look like Dune worms. Yeah, those have fluff in 40k, but have no rules in 40k.
I do like that. Their tank.
I don't know why they do this to us, because it's such a cool goddamn looking tank.
It really is.
It's like fucking goddamn it, GW. But yeah, no. So that one, and it's too big to be used as a rhino. I'm just gonna say it outright. You can't use it as a rhino. It's actually a big fucking tank. Put it in a sock and murder someone. Last but not least, another unit that exists but doesn't have rules is the Wardens. But again, most people just convert Wardens into either Sagittarium, because you can buy a Sagittarium kit. Those are the guys, Custodes with bolters, heavy bolters, essentially. You can just buy the kit of the heavy bolters, and people just attach them to the Wardens. Or they also can be head-on conversions, because they have like really cool cloaks on the legs, and they just look cool. So yeah, but other than that, it's really just a one-to-one conversion. Everything else just kind of works, and it works both ways, 40k and 30k. I will also talk about Mechanicum, since I do play Mechanicum, or Mechanic. Yeah. So this one is gonna suck. Nothing transfers over nicely.
No, it does not.
Yeah. Skitarii. Skitarii, you can wing it. Skitarii, you can wing it. Mostly because there's Forge World Skitarii under Mechanicum, known as one you can't wing the Phalanx ones, which are literally
So the
Skitarii with shield.
Peltasts technically have an option to field radium carbines,
Exactly.
but it is a straight up downgrade from their regular gun for a
Exactly.
0-point decrease. So there's absolutely no reason to do it.
But and technically, the 40k Castellans are a really good proxy for 30k Castellaxes. The problem with that is that Castellans only have the Phosphor Blaster on the top of or they have the Flamer, but you can't take Flamers with Castellax, so ignore that. They have the Phosphor Blaster, which is only really the Mauler Bolt Cannon. So you're kind of missing the Darkfire Lance, which is a nice big kind of, again, totally not an Eldar Lance. And they're missing the multi-melt option on the top. But what I've seen some Mechanicum players do is they take the Castellan models, they've magnetized the weapon on the shoulder, and they just stick a multi-melt up there.
Yeah, that would do
You
it.
have now Castellax.
Makes
But
sense.
what's funny is that costs money. Like at that point, you might as well just buy a Castellax from Forge World. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But whatever. That's what some people like to do. But other than that, yeah, no. Mechanicus and Skitarii does not transfer over. It is its own, in my opinion, much darker looking army.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
40k
it's pretty
Mechanicus has like
mature.
almost like a Da Vinci kind of vibe to some of it.
Yes.
Whereas Mechanicum is more of like a grim industrial.
I mean,
Like
they stopped selling this model, but I have the old Forge World Dominus model
the
with the
Stale
hood.
Magos.
Oh yeah. And if you ever look under the
Oh,
hood,
the
he's just
HQs
got.
all transfer beautifully. All the
Oh, yes.
HQ models
Yes. Sorry,
from
completely forgot about that.
Mechanicus
Your
are
HQs
beautiful in
completely
30k.
transfer. Yes, sorry about that. Except Belisarius. Oh, no, even Belisarius Call can be
He's
like
he's
a
just
super.
an Archmagos on an Abayam.
Yeah, no. They. Sorry, all HQs transfer. Completely should have mentioned that.
But like
yeah,
everything else,
yeah, no.
I'm sorry.
I will also mention demons because.
Hold on. Just I'm gonna before I forget it again.
Go ahead.
Do Chaos Space Marines super fast because it lets me cover up my Space
Marines.
Marines mistake. Chaos Space Marines are different because everything transfers better for their units.
Yes.
Up to 20 minutes. But hold on. I forgot to talk about Terminators, which is big. Terminators in 30k load out like Chaos Terminators in 40k. So it's a combi weapon, either combi bolter or a special one, and a melee weapon of many descriptions. So it's not all power fists in 30k. You can do all power fists, but it doesn't have to be. You gain thunder hammers as an option and do lightning claws. There are no storm shields unless you're Imperial fists or salamanders, and there are no cyclone missile launchers outside of Ultramarines and Iron Warriors that have full cyclone squads, and no assault cannons unless you're Imperial fists or Blood Angels. I think that covers that. No demon engines. Sad noises.
Oh no.
And demons.
Hold on, wait, well, pause. Demon engines.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the Horus Heresy is still releasing books, and now that we're in the Siege of Terra, demon engines.
Definitely,
This
but
one is. I'm going to spoil. Demon
as
engines
of right
show up
now,
in Terra. Yeah.
As of right now, there's no demon engines. Model wise, the old Chaos Space Marines kit is literally perfect, except for the helmets. The backpacks they wore, well, backpacks they're wearing, modern ones too, are the Anvilus pattern backpacks. There is an art spread where like someone drew a picture, and they use that. I forget which book it was. One of the black books has a picture of a Death Guard Marine wearing the 40k Chaos backpack. It's an Anvilus pattern backpack. That's valid. Totally valid, and it looks awesome on Mark III Marines. So yes, Chaos Marines transfer very nicely. The modern plastic kits are a little over ornamented. So if you like trim back some of that, change out some of the helmets, golden. I've seen a lot of really nice 30k models using the 40k kits.
Which brings me to demons, since you mentioned no demons. Demons.
No demon engines, but
Demons are weird. So me and Steve kind of actually had to argue this over this with notes. So, um, it okay. So the weird thing about demons, and I have the book open because I had to check. Demons is a weird army because GW, the GW that takes artists down if they do free stuff or takes 3D printers down if they 3D print their shit. Um, Oddly, GW or at least Forge World is really lenient here because essentially they're like, here are the base sizes for the different demon units. Enjoy. And I wish I was joking about this, but that's basically what it is. Like a lesser demon is on a 32 mil base. Fucking enjoy. And then you modify, like every unit in the demons can be modified. Basically, you buy upgrades to them, like wings or claws, or they spit acid. But if I wanted to use like Nurgle demons on a 32 mil base, congratulations. If I wanted to use Glotkin as a behemoth, okay. If I wanted to use some third party, what's that stupid thing that Luke always buys?
Creature caster.
Creature caster,
Creature
yes.
caster.
Creature caster, sure, go ahead. Yeah, just put it on the correct base. Like demons are weird because everything technically ports. That's and so when we talk about demon engines, right? A demon engine is a defiler, for example, from Chaos Space Marines. Defilers are basically perfect demonic behemoths. That's a
heavy support choice, right?
Yeah. It's a that could be a demonic behemoth with a rift barb, which is the battle cannon, and a flensing talons. Like, ta-da! You know what I mean?
Woo!
So it's weirdly like open. Demons are one of those ones where there is
build
no
your own
set.
dudes.
Yeah, it's a build your own. It's a build your own. It's a build your own army.
Yeah.
And you could build everything 40k and Sigmar for demons.
Yes.
In this list.
Yeah.
This is again one of the someone used poxwalkers as because I had to ask Steve this because I completely misunderstood this. They're a unit called Possessed, and I confused it because I thought it was the Possessed from 40k. No, Possessed are literally just zombies, possessed humans. People use poxwalkers. You know what I mean? So it's like it's
or zombies or ghouls
ghouls are great ones. Yeah, exactly. So demons is probably the most portable army.
Yeah, looking it out on Forge World, it looks like it's essentially demon
Imperial?
princes, greater demons. That's what they show. And that's the only models they have made.
Demon princes are actually demon shrikes in Heresy. Like the classic 60 mil base, guy with the sword and the wings.
Okay.
Actually be a fast attack, not the HQ build, if I remember correctly. Dan?
You can build a demon prince with a wing.
That's
actually one of my lists.
But the HQ model, like the assumed model for the HQ, is the bigger base, right? Like the big boy demons.
So fun fact, I have my book in front of me. To build an HQ, a lord is between 60 mil and 120 mil base. It gives you a range.
It does let you do 60 mil. Okay.
Yes.
Never mind then. Rescinded.
Yeah, I'm on the Forge World website, so when you look at they have a Khorne Demon Prince and Herald model, so they do those where they translate, but I would assume they let you use them as princes and all because they're actually naming them that way on Horus Heresy, essentially.
It's so hard to explain, only because it literally is just like, here is the base size. Like, for example, the brutes that you see, right? It says the brutes should be on 50 mil bases. That's all it says. So technically, yes, those are Ruinstorm Demon brutes. Or you can use the Nurgle. What the hell are those beasts called?
The beasts. Beasts of Nurgle.
Called Nurgle beasts. Of course,
Beast
of Nurgle. Or someone
you could use Fiend of Slaanesh. You could use
exactly, as long as they're
Skull
on
Crushers.
Base. Someone took the he had, I want to say 12 of the old Forge World frogs, the Nurgle frogs. I don't know if anyone remembers those.
That's a throwback.
They're still listed here.
I don't think they exist anymore.
Demon Pox Riders of Nurgle. Yeah, it's the bottom thing.
the Pox Riders. Those are the riders. Do they sell the frogs?
The frogs are under them. The model is called the Demon Pox Riders of
no,
Nurgle.
Demon Plague Toads of
Oh
Nurgle.
no,
There we go.
dude! They only sell the people on top. They show the frog underneath, but they're only selling the people on top. That's dumb. Yeah, you're right. My apologies. It's only the people on top. I thought it was the whole model. It's not.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they don't sell those anymore. So yeah, he used those as beasts for his. I should point out. Sorry, one more thing. Demons are not Khorne, Nurgle, Zinch, and Slaanesh.
Yep.
Because
Again, you stated that before.
They don't know
there
what they
are.
So.
5 etheric domains.
Yes,
you could choose from, which are approximations of Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, and Tzeentch, and everyone's fan favorite. You know the one, Dan, Dave.
Well,
the
Malik?
one that doesn't
Chaos
exist.
number 5.
Nope, the one that doesn't exist.
The anti-chaos chaos god.
Oh, was the name not? I thought it was Malik was the name or something.
Malal.
Malal.
Malice, Malal.
Yeah.
All right.
You could technically run a Malal. No, I hate that name.
Yeah.
But so Demons is super, super open. Enjoy. And yeah, I'll end it there on that one.
They don't play like old Demons, but you could use all your old Demons.
At all. They
do. They have weird mechanics. But yeah, no, it all ports over. Imperial Guard? So there's 2 ways to do it. You could join the Imperial Militia, which is all like planetary militias, which means it's not like professional army, and they're missing a lot, like a lot of options. They still have a lot of stuff. They also lose a lot. So your basic troops unit, like your infantry squad, it's called, just like in 40k guard, is 20 dudes with some sort of weapon. Generally, that's going to be a las gun, but it doesn't have to be. You could do a unit that's all melee weapons. So if you have I don't have my book handy. Uh-oh. But basically, if you have a Beastmen army for fantasy and run it as a militia army. We're talking about porting over armies right now. Imperial Guard struggle because there is no direct parallel. The militia list, I think, is the closest. It gives you a lot of options, but you're also missing things. Like, you don't get Hellhound. Like, anything that's a Chimera, you probably don't have.
It's the same problem that Space Marines. There will be some one-to-one conversions, but you'll be missing options. Like, Space Marines have Predators, but they're missing las cannon Predators. You have I was going to say Lemon Russes, Jesus Christ. You have Leman Russes, but you don't have every Leman Russ,
Right. There's no Chimeras, which is a huge downside. They have an alternate to a Chimera called a Carnodon, which is basically just a Rhino, but with a fancy all-resin model, and like one different weapon option. You have fake Predators, which are Carnodons with either las cannons or autocannons on top. But you don't have Chimeras, which is a problem, because that means you can't do a squad with a special weapon shooting out the top of the model, which is a damn shame. No Valkyries and Vendettas either, but you could proxy those as an Arvis. So they kind of could get used, but they're not a direct port.
What do they have direct fighters though? Because I'm trying to think of let me open.
Oh, the Planes Cross, the Marauders, the
I was gonna say all the Planes
Lightnings, the Thunderbolts. Thunderbolt Lightning, very, very frightening. But yeah. Special weapons are going to struggle to find a home in the Imperial Militia list. I think it's just the command squads that get to take them, and the Grenadiers, which are basically like veteran squads for Guard. If they still do that, I don't know if Guards still do that.
I think so.
But yeah. I think they do. Veteran squads, but the problem with Grenadiers is you start at 10 models with the basic weapon, and then you get to add special weapon models or add like additional basic models, which means you can't fit them in a fake Rhino with a special weapon. So if you want to have like a melta gun in your squad, and you want to put them in a transport, either they're joining an infantry squad in a Gorgon, or they're riding in an Arvis, or they're riding in a Terrax assault drill. Like, it's not a great port unless you're literally looking to just field a ton of las guns.
Okay.
Or a bunch of I was talking about Gorgons, a bunch of Gorgon tanks. Yeah,
could point out that some
could be
do
better.
port like Jesus Christ, or thick boys with grenade launchers do transfer.
Ogrins.
Thank you.
Ogrins.
Fucking
Ogrins transfer and
Yeah.
Tech Priests transfer.
Tech priests. Some of the, like I said, some of the tanks, like the artillery tank,
Commissars and command platoons.
all the
They
Beyblades
don't
transfer.
have basilisks. Beyblade transfer. They don't have basilisks though. They have basilisk guns, but not on the chassis.
Ah, I see. It's like an artillery piece.
Yep, it's the fixed platform, which is.
I dare say, ironically, this is the one that doesn't port over.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to say, because even so real quick, there's two Imperial Guard, quote unquote. There's the militia, and then there's the Solar Auxilia. And really, the Solar Auxilia, the only difference is that Solar Auxilia are the elite version of the guard of the militia. So
they are Tempestus Scions for 30.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say they're the Tempestus Scions of the militia, right? And I mean, I'm just looking at this, and I don't think really anything transfers. This is like one of the ones that, although to be fair, how many Imperial Guards player do we know?
I'm really blowing your mind now, Dan. Okay,
you
know what transfers better than Imperial Guard into a militia army? You're gonna laugh.
Don't say it. What is it?
You have a better time transferring over an American Civil War army, or like any of those armies. Yeah. Those will all transfer better. You could take your Romans from like Hail Caesar and run those better.
Actually, yeah, you're right, because I'm looking at the Solar Auxilia with like power axes. Oh, they do look fucking cool. Jesus Christ. I'm actually looking at this.
Solar Auxilia is dope, but it doesn't transfer.
They're so stupid looking.
Solar Auxilia, I had those up before. It's taking me time, but let me put those guys.
The Charnite Ogrins are absolutely incredible.
One of the wardings I'm going to give you. This is also the most expensive army in all of Games Workshop.
I can see that.
Ever.
Just off the vehicles.
I priced this out years ago, just for fun. Not even the vehicles, just the infantry alone will run you thousands of dollars. That's not including the tanks. This is they used to have a box set, which saved you actually money, believe it or not. But this is yeah.
Not a good point.
This is a labor of love army. I'm gonna say it very nicely. This is a labor of love army.
Imperial Knights though. Imperial
Knights. Imperial Knights transferred. I mean, that's except for what
pick up, drag, drop. You don't get the knight. You don't get the Knight Preceptor, and
he's a special model.
Yeah, but no, there's a generalist version of that model.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you gain the ability to mix loadouts on your armatures.
Yes.
So you can go double melee autocannon, double melta, silly things like that.
Yeah, you can mix. So if you magnetize your armature, this is gonna be your favorite thing.
Like all your knights are valid, and what's really weird is they actually, instead of just being all super heavies, there's all super heavies. Instead of all being Lords of War, you have an HQ knight and troops knights, and they can gain special rules based on what slot you put it in. Yeah,
you purchase
a pilot, put the pilot into
the suit. That's how it works. So you'll purchase a troop pilot and then figure out what suit he's in, which is a very interesting way to do it.
Like knights transfer over great. They are an army that I think falls into the opponent warning category. Like, hey, I'm bringing Imperial Knights just to let you know. Oh, thanks for the heads up. I'll make sure I have melta bombs. Because otherwise, you could literally end up having units that have no effect in the game besides taking space and dying. Which, by the way, is perfectly valid units. But it could feel bad if you're caught off guard.
but it is field bad. So this is one of those. Yeah, tell your opponent you're doing. Eldar, Necrons, and Orcs. So
Yes.
by Eldar, I do mean like all of Eldar. So Dark Eldar, not Ynnari because they're new, but Dark Eldar. There are fan rules for these, and they
exist in the heresy.
They are not, well, obviously they're not official, but they are pretty damn near official. The books are really well done. I probably should have told Dave to open this up so he could show the stream. What the hell are they called?
The books got C&D'd though.
Yeah,
like they can't be sold as books anymore.
That's literally means they're entirely pulled away from official. It doesn't mean you can't play them, obviously, but
lots of
GW don't like it.
Lots of events allow them. I don't even remember, but they're out there.
Talk about it while I pull it up on my iBooks because I downloaded them on my iBooks.
Not super familiar.
Right, but if they got C&D'd, I might not be. I won't be able to find them necessarily.
I got you guys. I got you. I'm gonna pull up my iBooks right now.
I glanced through the Eldar one.
Yes, I was gonna talk about the Eldar one because.
Oh, you can talk about Eldar then, because you actually play Eldar. You could talk about better than me.
Eldar are basically fun fact, and if you know this, the Eldar were really in a fucking bad place during the heresy, because they created Slaanesh, and then the heresy happened, and the Emperor does not like the Eldar, so they were fucked pretty badly. So you're playing broken ass Eldar is essentially what it is.
It's spiritually broken, not like gameplay broken.
Yeah, they're basically broken Eldar. But the cool thing is, you're playing Eldar. They changed the names around in the books for obvious reasons. It got pulled from like. Oh, but wait, can I just?
Remember, right?
Dan, here's the thing:
aspect, right?
If you can't pull it up, I won't be able to show it anyway, so it's okay.
Exactly. No, that's the problem.
Yeah,
I haven't saved on my iBooks, which is the problem. I'm pretty sure someone actually downloaded something. But anyway,
it's like build a craft world, sort of, right?
Yeah, it's basically
you can pick aspects.
Yes. So, for example, I built it's basically the Ghosts of Iyanden, where you can fit in more Wraithseers and take more Wraith units, but you're not allowed to take jet bikes. So it's kind of like the Space Marine Rights of War we mentioned before, which we're going to talk about.
It's like 3rd edition Tyranids.
Ooh, okay, that's a good way to put it. I like that a lot.
Where you're trying to balance out like the number of mutations versus brood types. It's kind of like that in a sense. Which means nothing if you don't know how that works.
But again, yeah, you're basically building. You're not. I'm trying to think of like a good way to explain the Eldar. It's literally.
It's tech trees.
Yeah. Here we go. Hold on. Let me see if this PDF works. Here you go, Dave. If you want to start showing these, hold on. Let me put this here. Put this here. I am the sexiest man alive.
The question is whether or not people can find it, because if they can't find it, it doesn't do any good.
Oh, it is. It's literally the website has all the PDFs.
All right.
So book 1 is so here's going to be the weird part. It has more than just Orcs, Eldar. Technically has Tyranids. It's weird. So watch. So book 1 is the Mega Arachnids, the Storm Scions, the Nerthine, the Olamic, the Qtide, and the Nephilim, which are all fluffy things. Those were basically the original armies that the Emperor kind of scoured from the galaxy. Then book 2 are the Hrud, yes, the Hrud, the Demiurge, the Interrex, the Keelakid?
Jabrock.
Yeah.
The
Keelakid.
Yeah, the Jorgal, the Eldar Exodites. So again, the Exodites. Book 3 is just straight up the Orcs.
Mm-hmm.
Also Rogue Traders, Agents of the Void, stuff like that. And I forgot where Tyranids and Necrons are somewhere in there as well. I forgot who the hell's, But if you kind of scroll, I mean, I'm sure Dave is probably scrolling through the site right now.
I pulled up where the links were.
You will see people. Well, no, if you open that website, it'll show you pictures of people's heresy armies as orcs. Someone took, I believe, Sigmar orcs, because the orcs aren't actually orcs. They're old school orcs. So little fluff thing. These orcs are not the small baby orcs that are in 40k. These are fucking massive thick boy Sigmar orcs.
Yeah, they're Iron
because
Jaws.
they've been growing. Yeah, these are not the small orcs of 40k.
These are the Orcs of the Crusade. These are the boys from Ulanor.
I'll put it this way: these guys choked out the emperor. Yeah, so
Yeah.
these are not so. Yes, and they're pretty official. Like this was I believe this was SN. Hold on, give me a second here. What was this? No, okay, it's not. But you know, this event happened and they used the rules. So I mean, it's again, you use them and just tell your opponent you're using them, and 99% of the time they'll be fine with it.
And
You know what I mean?
if you play Orcs and they don't like that, you could run the Orcs as militia, run as an abhuman army, so they all
Yes,
gain one
absolutely.
toughness.
They
And then
just
if you give them one of the upgrades gives them better melee, either better weapon skill or an extra attack,
oh,
and then give them all pistols and combat weapons, and there you go. There's your boys.
yeah. I should point out that we keep
And
mentioning
the
militia.
last option to run these armies would be just use the 7th edition codices without formations.
Yeah, that was I think I wrote that. Yeah, just
Yep.
run 7th edition codexes. Just don't use formations. The 7th edition codex is very viable. Okay. Except for, do you want to mention? And they just came out with a codex too, so I feel bad about saying this.
Go home, fish boys.
Yeah, listen, guys. Okay, Tau.
They didn't exist.
It didn't exist. I'm sorry. Yeah, I hate to be this asshole, and it's not being an asshole. Just they literally did not exist. You assholes were hunting fish with spears when the heresy was happening. Hell, even after I think the heresy
Their
happened.
planet was marked like, yeah, we're gonna virus bomb this planet
heresy, right?
just so we could take it later. And then it got forgotten about, and literally after 10,000 years, like,
It was a
oh
warp
hey,
storm. No, I think it was
people
after
fixed.
the heresy, bro. I think literally after the heresy.
Yeah,
they
it
found
was
the
a warp
planet.
storm. Separated them.
Like they're
Point is, I'm sorry,
not.
man.
They do not exist.
Yeah, I'm sorry, they don't exist. I love you guys, but everything else does. Necrons are pretty
Even
cool.
Sisters of Battle, because you can run Sisters of Battle as militia.
Okay, so we keep mentioning
In
militia.
power armor. In
People are probably,
power armor,
what the
nonetheless.
fuck is militia? Militia is very much like demons, but for humans. Like I mentioned how demons are very customizable. They basically give you base size, and they say, do you want claws, wings, spit, whatever. Militia is very similar, but for humans. They give you a human squad, and they're like, all right, do you want to be beasts, like mutated beasts? So this is more like chaos. Do you want to be wearing power armor? Sisters of Battle. Do you want to be? God, what are the other? There's so many options. Jesus Christ.
Basically, you can upgrade the entire army takes the same upgrade. We can take up to 2 upgrades for the army that changes one of the stats across the board. You could take +1 to your saves, which takes your 4-up save grenadiers, and turns them into 3-up save units, which is your Sisters of Battle. Yeah, power armor. It's really fun to get power armored Ogrins. There's one that you can make your troops all cybernetic, so they gain a 6-up invulnerable save. There's one, like Dan said, the abhumans for extra toughness.
You can use Skitarii for that one.
Yeah, it kind of works. You could do, like I said, Skitarii transfers better into militia than into Mechanicus. Into Mechanicum. Yeah. There is one that gives you better initiative. There's one for more attacks. There's one where Savlar Chem Dogs, this is where you get to really do your thing. It's going to be all hopped up on drugs, and you basically get immune to most morale effects. With the downside of, yeah, it's awesome. There is Survivors of the Dark Age was the one that gives you the +1 to the save. That's the common one. There is I can't think of it. There's 2 trader only ones. One is Cult Horde that makes the Levy Squad into troops, so you could do literal hordes of models. And there's one that gives everyone a bunch of like crazy. The one makes you zealots. What's that one called? You have your book with you, Dan?
This one I don't actually own.
Oh, I don't know where I put mine. But basically, we'll talk about that later. You get like zealot and
the third episode will be on how to make an army.
Yeah.
Which then I'll have my book open for.
But militia is insane. You could do
but overall, I mean,
anything that does not fly can be done with militia.
to be
Doesn't fly
fair,
and not cavalry.
like,
And then Mournival Events does have fan rules for those missing units.
yes, they do. Like I said, listen, a good 80 to maybe 70% of the stuff does transfer over. It's actually not bad. I mean, hell, Steve, like I said, Steve has what 90% of his army is still plastic. It's not even
More
resin.
than that.
Yeah, it's
literally I have one tank
shit,
and one unit of artillery guns.
Who's the Death Guard player?
Lewis?
So Lewis. All of Lewis's shit is plastic except for the Terminators. The Typhon, of course, but the Terminators.
Yeah.
The Death Shroud. So you can easily make an all plastic army. It's not hard. But yeah. I mean, and again, next episode we're going to talk about like how to actually, purchase
construct
models.
One. Yeah,
construct one. Because that'll actually be the probably at that point you're probably really interested, and we'll talk about how to actually construct in that thing. Because there are certain ways what boxes you can buy that'll make it really really easy.
Dave, anything that any armies that you're like, wow, I have this army, I wish I could use it. You didn't mention it.
So one thing I will say is I don't own a single 40k army currently. The only two armies that I'm actually looking at don't exist at this time. Well, other ones that don't exist because Tyranids were not really in our galaxy at the point, and Necrons were all still asleep.
Demons. Trajan was awake.
Okay, so so an army of him.
Yes,
but like
so Tyranids actually kind of do. You could run Tyranids as the demon army list.
Okay, yeah,
and they actually were, according to the codex, around in a limited capacity.
Okay.
So there were behemoth fleets that did arrive. One of them that's mentioned in the Tyrannid Codex talks about a couple of planets that all had biologically related species on them that could fly. They weren't sure how they got from one planet to the next. Well, it was a bunch of winged beasts. So it's like gargoyles, hive tyrants, things like that. They didn't have the hive ships. Basically, it's like shattered fragments that are isolated.
Yeah.
Definitely has a place. It's not going to be the Tyranids like you think of them in 40k, but they
of course not.
Actually, they were limited appearances, but they were around. Or you could pretend they're, mega arachnids and things like that. Because there were so many Xeno species that the Imperium destroyed during the Crusade.
Are really good Tyranid proxies. They have mega arachnids in book 1 of the Great Crusade. So mega arachnids can easily be like for example the normal, where is it? The normal troop, or I'm looking at it right now, the normal elite, 90 points for 3 models that have 2 segmented claws and a harpoon tail. I mean,
done.
That's a Tyranid. That's literally a Tyranid.
It's a freaking Tyranid.
Here we are. Yeah. Each warrior is armed with segmented claws that are scythed blades. And this is, so I'm on book 1 of the link I sent you.
Okay, yeah, I can't. Okay, you're in that. I'm not going to go through opening the PDF right now.
Yeah, but if you go to like page 42, or I'm sorry, where does it start? It starts at page 38. This is the mega arachnids, and they're literally just Tyranids.
Yeah. Like,
I know that they're not Tyranids; they're actually like a sea creature, whatever. But I'm looking at, like, they have like, where's the heavy support? That's fast attack. Here, heavy support. They are armed with 2 Lyrian scythe blades. They can also take, they have gauntlets, which might be weird. But again, I don't know what the gauntlets do. They're probably at the very end. But if the gauntlets anything like a gun, then, it's Carnifex. Yeah, so it's easy. Like,
so Tyranids you could port. What was the other one you're talking about?
No, the other one looking at is Necrons, but that doesn't really seem
Necrons.
To be a thing. Yeah.
Actually, Necrons have
the fan rules have them as waking up tomb worlds. I personally haven't crossed them in the fluff though.
Yeah.
I also, like I said,
which book. I know Necrons illiterate. Are there. I don't know which book they're in.
Yeah, but that's I currently, at least, I have so many games or so many things I'm working on. I'm not too concerned about that. Although, like I said, once our goal is to start streaming some stuff as well. When we do that, if you have loaner stuff, I have no problem trying it out, and I'll try out the game and see how it goes. Of course,
tons of learning armies.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
have no problem with that.
Yeah, we're nuts.
Oh, speaking of learning, if you are in the tri-state area, there is an event next weekend, and the organizer has loaner armies available for it.
Now, when you say next weekend, you are saying the weekend.
I'm
what
talking
actual
about
day?
The 12th of February, 2021. 2022.
Okay.
My God.
2020. Yeah.
How do we find this event?
Well, if you go to the Mythico Studios website and you go to their events at the Mawa location, I think there's a link there for it.
I can look that up, and I can also. So when I say I'll put it in the show notes, I will. When Dan says that I'm going to do it, he doesn't do show notes. He doesn't understand how that works. But I am going to put.
This episode. I didn't say it.
You didn't say it this time. You're right. You did not actually promise the things that I will do this time. You've done in the past. No, what I'm going to do is I will put that in. Yeah. Istvan 5 narrative event. I see that listed.
Yep, that's the one.
So I will put in the information for that. I will also put in a link to the website that we had up that gives those other books from the Great Crusade books. So I'll put that in there as well, and I'll put that on both platforms. So I will put those up for people. Anything else currently, gentlemen? That feels like a pretty good place for the evening. People now know what they have, what they can do.
Yeah, honestly, I just want to end with again, the community is not bad. I mean, as long as you're not that dude that walks in with a Primaris army and says, "This is a 30k army," and you've painted it like.
Oh my God! I forgot one last thing to note.
Oh, go ahead.
Even if your Space Marines aren't painted like one of the first founding legions, there are variant armor color schemes.
Oh yes.
For a lot of the legions.
Oh, we completely forgot about that.
And two, there's this thing called Black Shields. There were Renegade Space Marines that did not go to Horus.
Oh, they just didn't go to anyone. So yes.
Yeah. So you get things like, what was it, the Ashen Claws, I think, are one of them?
Yeah.
Like, there are, splinter warbands.
Yeah, so if you don't have one of the legions of the heresy, you actually still can play. Just don't be that person that walks in, and I'm not talking about a new person. If a new person brings in Primaris Marines, then fucking fine, we'll help you out. But don't be that person that goes to an event and says, "Here's my entire 30k army," and shows up with Primaris Marines.
Events are a narrative center.
Yes.
Primaris Marines do not fit in the narrative.
But the GW.
But you could definitely learn with them. You could try out the game, get an idea for what kind of list you want to build towards. By all means, just don't make that your long-term solution.
Yes, that's a nice way to put it. And we do have people that play Eldar during these events.
Yeah. All right. That sounds like a pretty good and natural point then to stop. So what is it when we do the next part of this? What's going to be the main part there? Actually building your army, putting your list together?
Yeah, purchasing.
Literally, yep. What units are good starters for each faction. Not going to get into legion by legion, I don't think, but Space Marines, you want to have 2 troops units. We recommend this and that because they have the good thing. And then, militia, and then so this is going to take it from I am doing 30k side, not that I'm bringing over my 40k side.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good then. All right. So to close out the show, I want to thank everyone who has either been listening to this on whatever podcatcher they use, or decided to watch this on YouTube. Like I said, the plan is to try and do this as much as we can going forward. Some episodes there might not be anything in the show, but as long as there's something in the show, either some websites and pictures or whatever it may be, we would like to do that. I said the hope is to improve that as we go along. Actually maybe do these in a little bit better of a streaming format, but we do have that. As always, please, like, subscribe, all those sorts of things, everything that everyone tells you to do. Plan probably for next week is probably continue some more 30k. We might try to do like we did this week, where if there's some special news or interest or segments that we want to talk about that don't really relate to the main topic, I think our goal is to try to break them out a little bit separate, so that way we can kind of delve into what we want. That way, if your interest here is 30k, you didn't spend the first 45 minutes hearing us talk about things that maybe you don't have any interest in. All right, then. On behalf of my co-hosts and myself, have a good evening and good gaming.